Yeah, I'm starting it up. It
All
says
right,
you're live. Okay, we're good.
all right, bet. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the first episode of the MMAHOLICS. This is a combat sports podcast where we like to discuss everything in fighting, but of course, we can also discuss anything anyone likes to put in the chat, from video games, movies, like anything you guys are feeling. But of course, the show is called MMAHolics, so we're really centered around MMA and boxing, of course, like anything that involves throwing some hands. So, yeah, my name is Antoine, and this is my co-host, my longtime friend, Nikki. How you doing, Nikki? You good, bro?
I'm good, bro. I'm excited to start this channel up with you.
Yeah, of course, man. Me too, man. Yeah, guys, we know each other for a really, really, really long time. So, yeah, we both like MMA a lot. So we was like, why not, try, make a show, at least, talk about some fights and, talk about fights with other people that like fights, have some fun. And also, guys, like we're really chill, just please, respect us, and we'll definitely always respect you guys, of course, first, it's all love around here, all positive energy. Y'all never gotta worry about us disrespecting anything like that. We respect all opinions. Some people we having some hot takes, stuff like that. But of course, all opinions are just opinions, just that they're not facts, of course. Unless you're hitting someone with some crazy numbers and but even then upsets can happen, you never know. So but yeah, guys, this is the first episode of MMAHolics today, and yeah, we're breaking down UFC Fight Night Austin, Dariush versus Tsarukyan. Yeah, man, we got 13 fights this afternoon, and yeah, man, it should be a fun time. But yeah, Nikki, if you're ready, man, we can start with the first fight of the night, man.
Let's get right into it.
For sure, bro. Let's do it. Yeah, man. But yeah, let's start the card off with some ladies, man. We got Jamie Lynn Horth versus Veronica Hardy. Yeah, man, you could go ahead and start out with Jamie. She's coming in undefeated in this one. The Canadian fighter. Yeah, man, she's looked pretty clean so far, man. Like throughout her career, as you can see, she's coming in undefeated, with that amateur record as well. In terms of her statistics, she has 3 wins by knockout, 2 wins via submission, and 1 win via decision. Just want to know in the UFC, coming off that win off Haley Cowan, I thought it was a good performance, over Haley, a 7-2 opponent. Haley herself, like that was her debut coming off her contender series win, so it was good to see that she could be the young prospect like that, like herself. Jamie herself coming in at 33. So you could say she's kind of in the prime of her career, like right now, getting thrown into the UFC at this age. But of course, I like the thing in MMA where primes can vary based on the fighters and how they take care of themselves in divisions too. You could be a heavyweight champion in your 40s, but yeah, man, she was 3-0 on the regional scene. Won all fights by decision. So we know she can go a good 3 rounds, grappling, striking. And in terms of her skill set, she's finishing girls, like I said, she has 3 wins via KO. So she's a very good striker, has good boxing combinations, can mix them in with the leg kicks and also mix them up with the body kicks as well. How she'll set them up off going low to the, the leg kicks. And yeah, man, she sets a good pace in the cage, like fairly aggressive fighter, in my opinion. And yeah, man, she finished Jade Wong with a body kick in the 3rd round. So that lets when she's throwing the strikes, the veracity doesn't leave round by round. Like she'll stay aggressive and stay fast, and the strikes will stay powerful even in the 3rd round. But yeah, that's Haley. Not Haley, Jamie. Like I said, she's a good striker. Decent grappling as well. She has 2 wins via submission, so she's training it, she's getting better every day, of course, like as she should, and like I said, she's 33 coming into the UFC, so she's already pretty advanced, for a sophomore in the UFC. I guess you could say it's her 2nd outing, so but yeah, she's fighting Veronica Hardy. Of course, the wife, former UFC fighter Dan Hardy. I love his breakdowns. Very, very cerebral mind, and was a good fighter too. Yeah, man. So Veronica's 28. She's 5'4". She's mainly a flyweight, but this fight is taking place at flyweight. Yeah, yeah. So Jamie's coming down in weight. In terms of Veronica's career, she has 1 win by knockout, 2 wins via submission, 4 wins via decision. She's lost once via TKO. She's lost once via submission, and she's lost twice via decision. She's 2-4 inside the UFC. Between the Bea Malecki fight and the Juliana Miller fight, she took a real long time off, about 3 years. I feel like in that time she was just really just improving as a fighter. She was really young in the Bea Malecki fight. Even at the time of the matchup, she was 24 years old, so she was really young in the cage, and really green, as you could tell by her, from her record. And also, that fight was at bantamweight, and I feel like, down at flyweight, this is her more natural weight class, of course. And in terms of her and her personality and skill set, she does the podcast with Dan Hardy, Full Reptile. So I feel like that really translate in the cage and the practice sessions for her, always analyzing these different styles and these different grappling positions in these different striking combinations, and really trying to implement those skills, those studies into her game. And I feel like, she's really good at the breakdowns, and then really shows she's really good at paying attention when she's even studying other fighters. And I really like that about fighters that really even try to take skills from other fighters, they're being really humble like that and trying to implement them into their own style, but of course, in terms of her career, like I mentioned, she is 2-4. She's lost to some pretty good girls though, Andrea Lee was good, he's definitely pretty good, especially back in 2018. KGB was definitely really good, back then, she, when she was a little younger and stuff like that. She lost to Ashley Evans Smith. Now, of course, I think she would definitely want that one back, but like I said, she was fighting at 135, and Ashley's big, she's 5'8", and Veronica's 5'4", and that's a big girl, she was fighting, and Jillian Robertson, she got submitted by Jillian Robertson. Now, a lot of girls have been submitted by Jillian Robertson. I don't really want to hold that against Veronica too much. You feel me? But of course, hey, in her most recent fight, she beat Juliana Miller, the Ultimate Fighter winner. Now, in terms of the victory, she did look good, but Juliana in her recent outing after that didn't really look too good herself, so but not trying to take the win away from Veronica. She still had a really good outing. It's just I was kind of surprised, how Juliana kind of looked the fight after, and some other critics around the MMA community, of course, are trying to downplay that win, but I thought it was still a good win. And of course, she got the win over Polyana Viana, submitted her with an armbar in the first round. Of course, I felt like that was a good victory. Polyana herself is fighting Jillian Robertson in her next fight, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, man, she's a good striker. I feel like she has really good leg kicks. She in terms of her being in the cage, against the other opponents, I feel like she was always at a disadvantage just due to her size and stuff like that. And I feel like, that always, it just, was really hard for her trying to implement her game with her footwork, trying to, try to get the jab going on those bigger opponents that would always have the reach advantage, But in this fight, I think it's a close fight, with her and Jamie. Jamie has a 3-inch reach advantage. She's 3 inches taller. She's older. She's 6-0, of course, as you can tell. And Veronica does have a little bit more experience, so that's definitely on her side. But it's just, like I said, this is a close fight. And like, yeah, Veronica's a very well-versed fighter, you know, in my opinion. You know, like she does have good striking when she can actually get her game going against like opponents her size, and like she does have the grappling tools, as you could tell, submitting Polyana Viana. But getting to my pick in the fight though, it's a close fight, man. Pretty close fight. But man, because you know it's -110. So like, obviously everyone else knows this is a close fight. But I'm just gonna, I was gonna take Jamie Lynn Horth. You know, I think she's gonna just out muscle Veronica. I think the size advantage will pay dividends. And I do want to see how she handles the weight cut going down. You know, of course.
Hardy or Horth?
Oh, Horth.
Okay.
Yeah, Horth. Yeah, I picked Horth. Yeah. It's just I think she's gonna outmuscle her, you know, just with the size advantage. But like I said, I do want to see how she handles the weight cut going down from 135 to flyweight. Of course, you know, 10 pounds, you know, might not sound like a lot, but it can definitely.
It is when it's at those, you know, low weights.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and like that can really, you know, draw the energy out of somebody and definitely, you know, be detrimental to your chin. You feel me? So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Jamie Lynn Horth just to win a decision, just off the control time, just really use the wrestling to use the size advantage and just win a decision over Veronica. But how you feeling?
I'm gonna have to go against you, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna take Hardy for this one. I think she has great instincts, and she's had her whole character arc in the UFC already, and I think now coming back after that win at 286, this could be a new thing for her at a new weight class. I think she has great instincts, like I said, and Horth, she only has the one fight in the UFC. The undefeated record can look good, but I think that it's an experience thing a little bit. I'm gonna take Hardy with this one.
Course. Yeah, man, I feel it definitely. Like I said, it's a close fight. The odds indicate so. I was going off like the past, you know, like of course, like that's the past though, and Veronica can definitely change her future. You know, she might be better dealing with the size advantages now and stuff like that. But I wouldn't bet on this fight if I was y'all. It's really close. You feel me? But yeah, you know, moving on to Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. All right, man. So Wellington Turman, this guy trains with Glover and Alex Pereira and all those boys. He's young, man. He's 27 years old. He's 6 foot. And like, you know, even 6 foot for like, you know, welterweight, that's, you know, fairly big, you know, for the weight class. Has a good frame. Of course, he's 3-5 in the UFC. Like I said, he's had kind of like a rough stretch as of late, you know. But the competition isn't bad, man. Like the competition is not bad at all. You know, Randy Brown, Andre Petrosky. You know, both those losses were via decision, so it's not like he got finished in those fights. You know, in like the Randy Brown fight, that was pretty close, man. Submitted Misha Serkinov. You know, that like Misha, you know, is kind of like up and down near the end of his UFC career. And Sam Alvey was on a pretty long losing streak near the end. Unfortunately, he was lost like Sam had lost like 7 fights like in a row or something like that. Hope he's doing good now though, for sure. You know, like shout out to Sam Alvey. And yeah, he got knocked out by Andrew Sanchez, who was fighting in the PFL last time I checked, you know. And of course, like, hey, shout out to Andrew Sanchez. He did win the Ultimate Fighter. And like, yeah, Marcus Perez got a victory over Marcus and lost to Carl Robertson. So like, yeah, man, this guy, as you can see, he is 3-5. In terms of his skill set, Wellington is a pretty decent grappler. He's a pretty decent grappler for sure. Always training with Glover Teixeira, like that's definitely gonna rub off on him. You know, iron sharpens iron. He has decent jiu-jitsu when he can get on top and like try to implement the top control. Has a good bottom game as well, like when he's trying to transition like from the full guard to the half guard and try to attack submissions off his back. And yeah, man, I think like he's just faced like some just good competition, man. I think some of those guys would kind of have the upper hand on Jared Gooden. And yeah, man, like I said, Wellington's young. He's 27. I think the UFC keep him around for a reason. Of course, this is a big fight for him. You know, he can't lose 3 in a row. Yeah, you know, so like, yeah, it'll definitely be gone. Or like, I don't want to say definitely, but you know, it's a strong possibility. Of course, you know, he would be like 4-5 in the UFC. You know, but wishing him all the best in this matchup, of course. And like, yeah, man, like I said, the last 2 performances, the one against Randy Brown, like he just couldn't really. Like he fought a really big dude. You know, Randy Brown's like 6'3", and like he couldn't really hold him against the cage. Or how he tries to his other opponents, and Randy just just picked him apart at the body when he would get the striking distance, off breaking, off the clinch, and yeah, man, even Randy himself was like he was tired, like near the end of that fight. So like some of Wellington's game was rubbing off on him. It was definitely working. It's just he didn't have enough time to get the fight at the ground and try to get a submission or anything like that. And Andre Petrosky, he's a really good wrestler himself. So I think it was like that was going to be a hard matchup for him going in. And even like I said before, those 2 fights, he beat Misha Serganov and Sam Alvey. It just wasn't considered the best competition. And he got ground and pounded by Bruno Silva, before that, and knocked out before that. So, but yeah, man, going to Jared Gooden. This guy's fighting out of Gwinnett, Georgia. Of course, shout out to him. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, man. So this guy's had a rough go, but he's fought some good competition though, man. Like Carlson Harris. Carlson Harris is really good. Of course, we know that there was a weight miss in that fight. Unfortunately, Jared, he came in the round like 177, but in the fight though, he was looking pretty good in the first round. He just slowed down after once they started wrestle and grapple and then back to the striking. It's hard, man, when you got to train all the facets of MMA. And yeah, on the regional scene, after being cut from the UFC the first time, he was doing his thing. He beat Aaron Hollabaugh, Curtis Millender. Of course, the ref stopped that fight, but hey, a win is a win. Lost to Impa Kasanganay, but he just won the PFL belt for the light heavyweight, and he's a millionaire now. So congratulations to Impa Kasanganay. I do want to take a second to shout out to Impa, man, because he was on the receiving end of one of the most craziest knockouts ever from Joaquin Buckley when he was over here. And then after he left, it was cool to see him actually bounce back on some other regional scene fights himself, Impa. And then he went to the PFL, and now he's the champion. He's supposed to fight Vadim Nimkov, and when they have the PFL and Bellator champion versus champion. But yeah, congratulations to Impa Kasanganay. But yeah, man, he beat Doug Usher, but of course that was an injury. DeMarcus Jackson, that was a stomp, but like I said, a win is a win. So at least he's not a fighter that will that his confidence will waver. He'll definitely stay the course and continue to try to win the fight, regardless of the adversity, regardless of being tired. He got right back in the gym and went right back on the regional scene and got some wins, and look, it paid off. He made it right back here. On his first run, he knocked out Nicholas Stoltz in the first round, right cross. Lost to Randy Brown himself. Like I said, how Randy Brown also beat Wellington Turman. And he lost to Alan Jouban. Of course, Alan Jouban was a really good veteran in the welterweight division. Really gritty fighter. Had a really good chin, and man, had a lot of experience himself. And I feel like that experience definitely paid off against Jared Gooden, especially because that was his UFC debut at that. So, but before that, knocked out Trent McGowan and choked out Jay Jackson and choked out Marcel Stamps and so on. So, yeah, man, in terms of his skill set, he's a fairly good boxer, powerful hands. I honestly think so. He has 11 wins via KO and 7 wins via submission. He's never been submitted himself, so he's a fairly good grappler, as you could tell. And yeah, man, he's lost via decision 7 times. So I really think the biggest thing about Jared Gooden has always been kind of some gas tank issues. If he can get that under control and really just go hard at like as he goes in the first round, it's almost impossible in MMA with all the things that you do. Excuse me, but like if he could just maintain a decent level of pace, as he enters the second round and the third round, I think he could definitely win a lot of those fights that he lost. But yeah, man, even for this fight, this is a close one. Like I said, in terms of Jared Gooden, he's 29 years old, 6 foot, and he has a 77-inch reach. Like I said, he missed weight in this last fight, but they gave him another chance. He's made welterweight before, so I just really hope that he just comes in, disciplined and focused and can just come in and make the weight this time, man. But yeah, man, and this is a close fight. I picked the first time, so you can pick first this time, man. Go ahead.
So these dudes both got really full skill sets. I don't think they're really lacking in anything. It's going to come down to styles. And with Gooden, he has really good hands, definitely heavy hands, hard puncher, and then he has good takedown and movement. But with Turman, he's not afraid to sprawl, and it's with the skill set. So the dudes he trains with, they're really defensive fighters. So he's going to want Gooden to come to him. I think that's going to be a big factor in the fight. And if Gooden does go for the takedowns, that might mess with his fight style because, yes, he might gas out a little bit.
Yeah.
And Wellington might just be able to just pick him apart. And I think the decision win for Wellington Turman.
Wellington Turman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I feel you.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's who I marked down on my paper, man. I put the check over Wellington Turman.
You think a decision too, or you think it's something else?
I think it'll be a decision, man. I think he'll just because of course, Turman has been finished before, but I think he has a lot of experience though.
Yeah. There is a way Gooden can maybe get an early knockout, but he's gonna have to catch him because the defensive fighting is hard to push through. You're gonna have to catch him good on the chin one time with a hook or something.
Mm-hmm. And Wellington comes from a really good camp, and I really think the Glover in his corner, and the light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira in his corner. I think they're gonna give him a really good game plan, and they're a really really tight knit camp. I think they know how much he really needs to win this fight. Like I said, coming off the 2 losses. And yeah, man, I really think that's going to be a good competitive matchup, and I look forward to that one, low key. And kind of feels bad because like I said, this dude's right down the street, and going that. But best of luck to both these dudes. Never biased, just making a pick. You feel me? And yeah, man, we can move on to the next one. Ihor Potieria versus Rodolfo Bellato. Yeah, man. Would you like to take this one, or how you feeling?
You're rolling right now, man.
Oh no, that's cool. Yeah, man. You're giving me Victoria, and I'll take him. Yeah, man. So this guy came in with some controversy. Of course, I'm joking. That's just fan stuff. He finished Shogun, and I think that was his only win in the UFC. Yes, it was. In his debut, he got finished by Nikolai Negumereanu. I feel like, off rip, that kind of showed that. Well, even before then, I want to address, he came in on Contender Series, right? He won that fight, knocked out Lucas Podolski. Of course, that guy was undefeated. He finished him in the first round. But I think if you really dig deeper, and into that record, he was 20-2 or something when he made his debut. Bars. He was 22 when he made his debut, and yeah, man, a lot of these dudes 0-3, Felipe Noose was 17-18, Ivan Reber was 1-9, Vladimir Nurmagomedov was 5-6. Yeah, man, a lot of these dudes were 3-2, 1-6 for Denis Tukamachev. So yeah, man, I really that really kind of showed you once he came in and he really faced that UFC level competition, it was a really big wall for Ihor Potieria,
So you think there's a little bit of a padded record grinding out those
Yeah, you kind of say that, but of course, like I always say, one of the, like in my opinion, it's one of the number one rules in MMA. Like, you don't only fight who you're given, and of course, like that's what he did. It's not like he's can call. I mean, of course, certain fighters can call out dudes that aren't that good or whatever. But like on the regional scene, when you really can't pick and choose like that, you really gotta fight your way here, try to get to UFC. You really hey, like you're fight who you're given, and that's what he did. And like he did his job, and he finished most of these guys. So like yeah, like so even I mean his second fight, he got knocked out. So I feel like that always showed like that showed early in his career that he was susceptible to getting finished. Like I always say that. It's another role. I'm dead. If you ever see a fighter, even on their resume, if it's early in their career or anything like that, like if it was a knockout or anything, TKO, of course, like you can't count an injury or a disqualification, anything like that. But if you saw they got knocked out in any way, shape, or form, if it happened once, it can happen again. We kind of saw that with the Grant Dawson and Bobby Green. It was pretty funny because the first time he got finished, that was a quick knockout too. And then like he got hit with the Bobby Green.
Yo, your mic. It's kind of staticky right now. It's making noise, but it's staticky, so I muted you for a second. 1 second, guys.
Saying that I'm not saying that Grant Dawson is chinny, you feel me? But like I'm just saying, if you ever see a fighter that gets knocked out like that, if it happened once, it can happen again, and that's that's no disrespect, it's hard to take a punch from a trained UFC fighter, even just one, and like these guys taking on the chin like all the time, you feel me? So but yeah, man, even with Pretoria's skill set, he is a good striker. He has like good technical footwork, I guess you could say. Like he comes through with a lot of hooks, very aggressive. I just think when it comes to handling adversity, like he kind of just has to like of course like he can definitely take punches, of course all those things at a high level, of course fighting these high level MMA fighters. But I do think he if you apply like some pressure to that chin with a really good striker or any striker that has relatively high power, he can be finished. But hey, even giving him the benefit of the doubt, of course, any fighter can be knocked out, of course, and we all know that. And he fights, in this last fight, he fought a really good striker too. Man, he lost to Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg, of course, is a CKB product, CD Kickboxing. We all know they train, Israel Adesanya. They've had Alexander Volkanovski in that gym. Dan Hooker, of course, who was supposed to fight on this card. Shout out to Dan Hooker. And yeah, man, but yeah, that's a skill set. He's a good striker. He finished, Mauricio, but even then, Mauricio was landing some good shots. he was landing some decent shots in that fight, man. So, but he still got the job done. Even though, in my opinion, you can't really take anything too much away from it. Mauricio was 41 years old, and he retired. Like that was his last fight, So, but yeah, man, going into his opponent, Rodolfo Bellato. Yeah, man. So this guy's young too, man. He's 27. He's 6'3", with a 77-inch reach. He went 4-0 in LFA. Of course, for the statistics for his career, he has 6 wins by knockout, 4 wins via submission, and 1 win via decision. He's coming on. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Of course, coming off Contender Series with the finish in the second round over Murtaza Talha. Before that, he finished Ocasio dos Santos at LFA 159, and at LFA 154, he finished Metus Massaros with knees punches, of course, and that was a really good finish. I've been trying to catch more LFA cards, man. I'm always at work when they come on, and because they come on kind of late at night too. But I'm definitely gonna try to catch more of those cards. It's pretty crazy. Both of his losses are to Vitor Petrino. He's a really good fighter. In my opinion, I'm really high on Vitor Petrino. He's still undefeated. coming off the victory over Modestas Bukauskas, and he finished Modestas himself with with a check hook in the second round at the end, in their fight. So you can't really you can't really take too much away from that, in my opinion. I do think Vitor's a really good fighter, and who knows, like they could have a rematch and it might go another way, trilogy. But even before that, before he ran into Petrino, he was finishing dudes with submissions and punches. It's always good to see a fighter has a diverse skill set. They can get it done with the hands, and also implement their grappling, with the wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and get the submissions. It's just pretty crazy. It's like Vitor Petrino's kryptonite. It's pretty wild, but it'd be like that sometimes, like we've seen the Pereira and Adesanya situation. Of course, Israel's coming off a win over Alex Pereira, but hey, they could fight again a third time, and we're gonna see how that goes if they do. But yeah, man, Bellato's a good fighter himself, in my opinion. When he's not fighting Vitor Petrino, man, he's finishing dudes, and if he's not finishing, he's going to a hard fought decision. So we know he can go 3 rounds, and I think it's always good to really see that in a fighter, knowing like he can go through the adversity of a 3-round fight and fight his way to a victory with a hard decision. And yeah, man, like I said, he has 6 wins via knockout, 4 wins via submission, and 1 win via decision. So he's a very diverse fighter, like I just mentioned. And yeah, man, fairly good chin, fairly durable fighter. I just think Vitor Petrino just has his number. And yeah, man, going to my pick in this fight, I was gonna go with Rodolfo Bellato. I think he can get the finish, like 2nd round knockout, something like that. I just think like these boys are gonna come out and strike. And I think if they go blow for blow, I think Bellato's going to hurt him. And yeah, man, of course, Potier could prove me wrong. But like, I just think Rodolfo, just like, yeah, I really trust his momentum. Of course, when he's not fighting Petrino. And I think he can get it done, So I'm going to go with Rodolfo Bellato by a 2nd round knockout. How you feeling?
Okay. This one's interesting. It could go 2 ways, obviously. With Bellato, I think he should try and fight slow and patient. And on the other hand, with Potier, I think he has to jump the gun. I think he has to do it. He likes to fight quick. He likes to get in and out. Definitely Bellato too. He gets his finishes early. But with Potier, they're in and out fighters. They want to get in there, do their job, and leave. I just think that Bellato has the skill set and the knowledge to know to go the distance. With Potier, I think he should try and get the knockout quick because there's no decision win there for him, in my opinion. It was hard when I did write down the pick. I took Potier as a knockout, an early knockout, because that's the only way I could see him winning. I might regret that pick, but that's what I took.
Wait, you took Potier?
Potier, yeah, for an early knockout.
Oh,
I
really?
think he's going to jump the gun. I think he knows that's his way to victory, is to jump the gun, to swing with this guy.
Really? Okay.
I can't see it going too far of a fight, but if it does, Bellato definitely takes this, 3rd rounder decision. It's definitely going to him, but I'm taking, the knockout.
Hey, man, trust your gut, man. It's going to be a banger. It's going to be a war.
It'll be a great fight. They're going to be swinging early. I don't think they'll be, taking a whole round to feel each other out. I think they'll find their volume quick and they'll be going.
Yeah, nah, man. Yeah, when they feel that crowd, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, going into this next fight, Mesoquezo Costa versus Steve Garcia. Yeah, man, we can start out with Steve Garcia coming in this one. Of course, a fellow American. Yeah, man, Steve, the Mean Machine Garcia. This guy has fairly good power. Of course, you got that win over Chase Hooper. And we saw Chase Hooper get a win in his last fight. So, of course, that's a pretty good victory. You could definitely say.
He's a great fighter. Very great fighter.
Sure, yeah. Shout out to Chase Hooper, man. In terms of Steve's career, he has 11 wins via knockout, 0 wins via submission, and 3 wins via decision. He went 5-2 in Bellator. For those that don't know, he was a former Bellator fighter. He was over there kicking some butt for a little bit. 1-0 in LFA. And And yeah, man, like I said, he has a lot of power. 11 wins via knockout. He has been knocked out before. It's only been one, so you can't really say he's chinny like that. It was by Mahashate, and like that was at UFC 275. Got that card right there. Like nah, like because I only say that because like that was a classic that night, and like that was in Singapore, and I really feel like the crowd, you know, it was like it made like Steve want to bang and just come out and like Mahashanti caught him on the button, and you know he just, you know, like he fell and like it was over, you know. And I still think Mahashanti is a good young prospect. I know he's going through some young adversity in his career right now himself, you know. Mahashanti taking some losses, losing to Borishev and Rafa Garcia. But I still think Mahashate is a fairly decent fighter. Got the win over Charlie Ontiveros. It's a good victory, in my opinion. Lost to Luis Pena. Of course, you probably want that one back. And yeah, man, I just really think that like Steve, it has really good power in his hands. Devastating when he can really implement the game plan. Because he can really, like, he's really good at stuffing some of the takedowns, and it's really having like good sprawl and brawl when he's on. And like I said, he's only finished one time in his career, so he's not chinny like that. You can't really say. And yeah, man, going into his opponent, Mezaquezo Costa. This guy looked great in his last fight. Hitting Austin Lingo with like the matrix moves. I mean, like he was doing like spinning attacks left and right, and he was going to the body, you know, like good, you know, boxing combinations, you know. The way he would rip and like go back up with the hooks and stuff like that. He lost to Thiago Moises. That was up at lightweight though, and Mezaquesto fights normally at featherweight, so you can't really take that, you know, hold that against him too much. You know, this is natural weight class he's fighting in now, and yeah, man, he's fairly consistent throughout his entire career. He's really young to have that big record. 27 and 26 fights. And yeah, man, in terms of his career, he has 7 wins by knockout, 6 wins via submission, and 7 wins via decision. He's really good, man. He's 1-1 inside the UFC overall. But like I just mentioned, it was to Thiago Moises up a division, and Austin Lingo with, you know, last fight. That was a great performance. On the regional scene, you know, he was beating dudes, you know, 13-4 guy, 14-2. 5-2 dude, you know, so he was being some fairly good competition, and rising to the occasion when the task came. And yeah, man, like I said, in terms of his skills, he's a really good striker, man. He's really going and like chanting it all together. Really made for his style. Doesn't get tired when like stringing the strikes together and the kickboxing combinations, and really dynamic when he's you know, when he's on and really flowing like that. And yeah, man, with this pick, I was going to go with Mezaquezo Costa. I was going to go Costa in this fight. I just think he looked really good in his last fight with the wide variety of strikes. I think he'll be faster on the feet. I don't think he's afraid to box neither. And I do think if they get to a kickboxing match, I do think that like he's going to just be like have like the wider variety and the skill set, you know. So I'm gonna go with Costa in this one. How you feeling?
This one's a real throw up. This one, just like, you know, the other fight, I had a hard time picking this one. You do your research and it's just like, all right, I got research for both fighters. Now I gotta pick one, and if I could skip, I would. You know, like if this was a bet and I was making a parlay, I wouldn't bet on this fight at all because I have no clue how this one's gonna go. You look at UFC stats and their strikes per minute are so close, and their takedown defense, everything is so close. You know, one guy beats him here and the other beats him here. I wrote down Garcia for a knockout, but
damn,
I have no clue with this one, man. It's a hard pick, bro.
Damn. Okay. All right,
dude. You do.
No, I love it.
It's like, who am I supposed to pick now? You know, great matchmaking for sure, but I have no clue to pick.
Right.
I get it. I wouldn't tell my best friend to bet on this fight for $1, dude.
Nah, man. It's like when fights are this close and the striking.
It's gonna be a good fight though, for sure.
Nah,
maybe we
yeah,
get a draw. Maybe we get a decision draw. Maybe we get a.
it's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild, bro. I really think like, you know, because Texas loves fights, man. Like, and they go to Austin a lot, you know. So I really think these fights are gonna come out and really just bang with the crowd, you know. I really feel it's gonna be electric when they start to fight, you know. But going into this next one, I like this fight too. Yeah, man, Joe Selecki versus Jakar Close, man. We can start out with the man Joseph Selecki. I don't know if his name's really Joseph. I just said Joe. Yeah, you know. So yeah, man, he's 30 years old. He's 5'9" lightweight with a 70-inch reach. He has 1 win via knockout, 7 wins via submission, and 4 wins via decision. He's 5-1 inside the UFC. His most recent win is over Carl Deaton, which he got a submission in the second round. He was scheduled to fight Benoit Saint Denis. Unfortunately, that did not happen. That was going to be on the Andrade versus Blandfield card, but unfortunately, you know, it's MMA. You know, fighters get injured. It would have been a great fight, though. You know, great fight. He beat Alex De Silva, you know, in a majority decision. Lost to Jared Gordon, the legend. Beat Jim Miller. Beat Austin Hubbard and beat Matt Wyman. No, now the Jim Miller and Austin Hubbard wins I do think are really good. Austin Hubbard, you know, the Ultimate Fighter finalist, really good fighter in my opinion, man. You know, I know he lost to Kurt Hollabaugh, but I still think he's a good fighter. And yeah, I mean, beat Jim Miller. Jim Miller, the longtime veteran, you know, a really, really diverse skill set. Jim Miller, shout out to Jim Miller. And yeah, man, like the only win you could kind of nitpick would be Matt Wyman. At the time of the fight, Matt Wyman was 36 years old. You know, of course, you know Jim Miller's older, but Jim Miller, like, you know, I feel like I would take Jim Miller to beat Matt Wyman.
Some fighters age differly, you know.
Yeah, you know,
they win those fights at those old ages.
Right. I think I do think Jim Miller might be. Well, he is a better fighter than Matt Wyman, in my opinion. Of course, like I said, opinions are not facts. And yeah, man, like he's had a fairly good career, you know, on the regional scene. Took some losses. He lost to Nicholas Mata, who's in the UFC now. And he just got knocked out by Manuel Torres in his last fight that counted. Of course, he was fighting Trey Ogden, and you know that was a controversial decision. You know, it was a no contest submission. You know, we saw what happened. But yeah, you know, and also lost to Caesar, back on Balmaceda, excuse me, y'all, at CFFC 65. Before that, got 3 victories in a row to start out his career over Chris Rollins, Andrew Jericho, and Kevin Perez. Also beat Eric Calderon and Johnson Jauch. And yeah, man, like, you know, Joe's a good grappler. Like I said, he has 8 wins via submission. He's never been submitted himself. So that definitely shows you he's really, really good once it hits the ground. Very active fighter on the ground. Very, really diverse skill set when it comes to the BJJ. And really good submission defense as well. You know, really hard to submit him. It's never happened, you know. So, of course, he has lost grappling bouts, you know, of course, which, you know, it's unfortunate. But in terms of implementing it to MMA, he's never been submitted in MMA, you know. And yeah, man, going into his opponent, Jakar Close in another close fight. Yeah.
You're good tonight, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm dead. Yeah, man. Jakar's coming in this one. He's 35 years old now, man. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach, fighting out of South Haven, Michigan. Yeah, man. So he beat Rafa Garcia in his last fight. I thought that was a very, very good win. I think Rafa Garcia is a really good fighter. I really like Rafa Garcia. I'm really high on him. Knocked out Brandon Jenkins. Of course, he was 15-8, but you fight who you're given. Got knocked out by Beneil Dariush, but everyone knows that fight was, you know, like, you know, they were going blow for blow in the pocket, and like, you know, they just, you know, you zig when you should have zagged, and just, you know, it's over. It's like that. You feel what I mean? So that's unfortunate, and I really feel like, you know, they're like, you know, the careers really just like took, you know, alternating paths that night. You know, Beneil went on to break the top 5, and, you know, of course, he almost challenged for the belt. You know, we saw what happened, but Of course, and hey, we'll be discussing Beneil later. And like that even shows you Beneil's fighting in the main event. And like, hey man, Jakar's fighting on the undercard. Of course, you know, like I said, though, that fight was super, super duper close when they fought. And of course, outside of that fight, got a good win over Christos Giagos. Bobby Green, which looks like a great win now. Lando Venata, who's a good veteran. Lost David Tamer. I'm pretty sure he want that one back. And beat Mark Casey. You know, Devin Powell. You know, he's been around for a while, man. It's just, you know, it's unfortunate he's had some injuries. You know, it's been hard for him to really try to maintain that level of activity that he's always wanted. But Jakar Close still definitely a really good fighter. Really good power in both hands. Really good anti-wrestler. Really good sprawling brawler. Has good hips to bounce back up to his feet. And like, yeah, man, and really good takedown defense instincts. Really just good, like when like sprawling and like, you know, like hitting the deck to scramble back to his feet. And yeah, man, has really good power in his hands too. Like I said, don't let don't let some of those decisions fool you. He has 5 wins via KO. And yeah, I mean, this is a close fight. It's a really, really close fight. But yeah, man, with my pick in the fight, I said it was going to be closest fight. So yeah, man, I'm going to go with Jakar Close. I think he can win via decision. I think it'll be some sprawl and brawl action for Jakar Close. I think Joe is going to try to get the fight to the ground and get the submission, and I think Jakar is going to keep the fight on the feet and just keep it standing and just, you know, like rip to the body, you know, like, you know, make him want to shoot some more, like stuff more takedowns. And Joe can get a takedown for sure. He's really good grappler. I'm not going to act like he can't get the fight to the ground. But I think Jakar Close, like I said, is a really good anti-wrestler. And I think he can work his way back up to the feet. And yeah, man, I was going to go with Jakar Close. How you feeling?
Yeah, so, you know, they got the same height, same weight, same reach. They're
Everything.
really similar fighters.
Yeah, right.
But the thing I feel like the only advantage Joe has is he has like these slick takedowns when grappling. But that's, I feel, all he has. I feel like all the other advantages go to Jakar. And I have him winning a majority decision. I don't see yes, it'll be a good fight. You might watch it as a good fight, but in the end, when the judges are scoring it, I think it's a majority decision for Jakar.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. Nah, man, it's a banger fight too, bro. Like, I feel like it's a good one. You know, surprised it's a prelim, to be quite honest. It's a really, really good fight. And yeah, man, going into Cody Brundage versus Zach Reese. Yeah, man. So Cody Brundage, he's going through some adversity in his career right now, man. In his last fight, he won. Of course, it was via disqualification. With some fights to the back of the head by Jacob Malkoun. I thought Jacob Malkoun was well on his way to trying to get a victory. Well, going to get a victory in that fight. I just thought he really looked good, man, and really coming out super aggressive, implementing his game plan with the takedowns and really just getting the control time, working his way to the back, and just like, you know, I really thought Jacob was looking good in that fight, you know. And yeah, man, before that, lost 3 in a row to Cedric Dumas, Rodolfo Vieira, and Michael Oleksiejczuk. But of course, you know, all those dudes are, you know, like our fairly decent fighters. You know, like the Cedric Dumas fight, I think he'd want that back, you know. But I feel like Dumas is definitely impressing some people that doubted him. You know, I feel like Dumas is, you know, he's won his last 2 fights. He just beat Abu Azaitar at 294. So Dumas is looking good himself, you know. And yeah, man. So Rodolfo Vieira, we all know how good of a grappler that Vieira is, and now that he's got his gas tank issues under control, he's looking great, you know. So I can't really hold that loss against him too much, you know. And he lost to Michael Oleksiejczuk. Now, you know, that was a devastating finish, you know, like, you know, punish the hammer fist, you know, like everyone knows how powerful Michael is. So I mean, it's, you know, it's like that, you know, like that was a hard fight for Cody. But then, you know, he beat Tresean Gore before that and beat Dalcher Lukambula. Now, the Dalcher Lukambula fight, he went through a fair amount of adversity in the fight alone. It was really, really, really close to getting finished by Lukambula. But, of course, he weathered the storm and got the victory. He lost to Nick Maximov. I feel like the UFC was a little too hard on Nick Maximov, cutting him the way that they did. Of course, he wasn't Nick. He's a Diaz protege. He's still young himself, Nick Maximov. He's 25, so I think he can still work his way back. And yeah, man, he was looking fairly good on the regional scene. Of course, we saw him on Contender Series about 3 years ago, where he lost to William Knight. But of course, the William Knight, when he first came on the scene, definitely had some promise, with that physique and his power that he was showcasing in the, in the fights that he had. It was pretty crazy. And of course, we saw what happened tonight, a few fights later, but shout out to William Knight. And yeah, man, Cody, he has 4 wins via knockout, 3 wins via submission, 1 win via decision, and 1 win via disqualification. He's lost twice via decision. He's been knocked out twice, and he's been submitted once. So yeah, man. So like I said, he's a fairly decent fighter. He's a good grappler. He definitely has the instincts to, sink in those submissions, those guillotine chokes, those anacondas, especially, when the fight's not going, when the fight isn't going his way, he can snatch up a submission in a heartbeat. And that survival instinct, and not many fighters have that, and I feel like, that's definitely what's kept him around a little bit. But I know that, the last fight was via disqualification. Of course, no fighter wants to win that way. But, hey, he's coming out in this fight and trying to bounce back versus Zach Reese. And, of course, that's who we're going to get to. Now, Zach Reese himself, this guy has been on a freight train coming off the regional scene. Of course, some of the competition hasn't been the best. But like I always say, you fight who you're given. He's 29 years old. He's 6'4", with a 77-inch reach in the middleweight division. So he's a big dude for sure. Beat a 5'10" dude, Tommy Britton. Before that, beat 6'3" Aaron Phillips, and beat some debutants. And then beat Fred Zamora. Of course, he was 1-0, but that was his debut, so that was what it was. And then yeah, man, he finished all these dudes, so he has a 100% finish rate as of right now, counting his professional record. A fun fact, he lost to Kevin Holland in his very first fight. It was an amateur fight at Cowboys Extreme Cage Fighting. And yeah, back on October 6, 2012. And yeah, Kevin Holland won the fight via decision. Shout out to Kevin Holland. You feel me? And yeah, man, so he has 4 wins via knockout, 2 wins via submission. He has never gone to decision. He's yet to make it out the first round. So that's either, how people feel about fighters like that. That's either a good thing or a bad thing. How's he going to handle when he finally hits that second round for the first time in his career? And yeah, man, we're going to see how he handles it. But as of right now, you can definitely tell he has to, he's a really, really diverse fighter. He's a good striker and has decent grappling as well, So going into my pick in this fight, I'm really big on experience. You feel me? I get it. Certain records don't look the best, but like I always say, it's about who you're fighting, and level of competition matters when you hit the UFC and stuff like that, man. And I get all that. You feel me? But sometimes you just got to go with the potential of certain things. You feel me? And I'm gonna go with Zach Reese in this fight, man.
Oh, you just threw a curveball, damn.
I'm gonna go with Zach Reese in this fight. I say the potential of certain things because he's on a pretty good win streak right now. He's riding a lot of momentum, and I think that's gonna help him out in this fight. He knows it's a UFC debut, man. He knows he has to train for 3 rounds to win this fight, man. And I think every fighter trains 3 rounds. It's not your fault if you're not making it there because you're finishing your opponent, And he has submissions on his record too, man. So I think if it hits the ground, he won't be a fish out of water. He's the bigger guy in the fight. And he has a 5-inch reach advantage. He's 4 inches taller. And yeah, man, he has a lot of momentum right now, riding high. So he's gonna be really confident, and he knows he has to be prepared for this UFC debut. Biggest thing for me in this fight, I get it. It's the experience, but it's not like Zach's taking the fight on short notice or anything. Cody doesn't have a canceled bout before, fighting Zach. So, Yeah, man. I'm gonna go to Reese in this fight, man. I get it. Like, shout out to Cody Brundage. He's trying to feed his family with his fist. You feel me? And I get it, man. Fighting's a really hard job, you know. But I got Zach Reese, man. Like I said, I'm gonna take the momentum, the potential, and I think he can get it done. So I'm gonna go with Zach Reese, man.
So what worries me about with Zach Reese is, yeah, he's never seen the second round. You could train for 3 rounds, but fighting in it and your first time being there is a totally different thing than sparring and everything. And especially against a great, grappler like that, someone who get those crazy submissions. That's what worries me about that. Obviously, crazy reach, height advantage, but and also his output's going to be there. He's going to have way better output than Cody, but that's going to be exactly what gasses him out. And as soon as that second round hits, he could have, he could hurt Cody and he could go into the second round with a big advantage. But if it does make it into those second, third rounds, I have no way to say he's going to win that. So I think with this fight is one of those times where you find value in the odds. There's a plus 210 underdog. So I would say if you did have $1, put it on Cody, and hopefully it could hit for you. If it goes anywhere past the first, like if Zach doesn't get an early knockout, you have no way of saying he's going to win this fight. You have no logic behind it. There is the hype and there's the skill, obviously, but there's no evidence, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to take Cody. I had by decision on mine.
I get it, man. Like, I get it, man.
I think Zach just might be gassed in the third round, and that maybe he's winning those first 2 rounds slightly. The second round could be debatable, and if he just looks bad in that third round, 2 rounds could go to Cody for a decision.
Yeah, I get it. It's just we're gonna see, man. And I get it. That's the thing about the fight. It's just how does Zach let past the first round?
Listen, if we're making predictions,
I don't know.
Give people somewhere to make some money. Man. Everything can't be a favorite. I got to give them somewhere to make money. Plus 210 is not a bad spot.
Don't get me wrong. I think minus 260 is wise, almost minus 300. And y'all, we're not talking about like it's for crazy bettors and say like we're just saying in terms of like obviously that shows that people are taking Reese at a really high clip, and I really think that like he does. Cody has more experience, like I said, you feel me? But it's just like, yeah, man. Like I said, like I'm just choosing the momentum. I think he's gonna come out very aggressive. Cody's gonna come out all out as well. He knows he has to win this fight. Technically, it's 4 losses. He's coming off, so he's gonna try to come out and I think try to prove a point and prove that he belongs to be here. And I just think Zach's going to match that intensity. It's going to be a car crash in the first round. And I think Zach's pretty good at surviving those. But, I mean, Cody Cody's weathered some storms and, came back in the fights as well. So we're going to see how it goes, man. But, yeah, man, moving on, though, to the next matchup of the night.
One right here.
Yeah, man. So this one right here, feature prelim of the night. Feature prelim. Yeah, man. So shout out to Miesha Tate, former UFC bantamweight champion. We can give her just due and start up with Miesha. So in terms of Cupcake Tate, formerly known as Takedown Tate, she's 6-6 inside the UFC. Of course, that requires contact. She's fought some really, really good girls throughout her UFC career. And one of those wins is a golden win. She brought a belt home that night. You feel me? Against Holly Holm at UFC 196 with a rear naked choke in the 5th round. Of course, even that fight, that was kind of sums up her career. She always weathering adversity and always coming back and always like proving people wrong and just like getting the victory. She
found a way to win. That's the most important thing with her. She found a way to win.
You win, yeah, right. Of course. And like, yeah, man, she won the belt that night. You feel me? So, yeah, man. So going into, the present, she's lost the last 2 coming off the Lauren Murphy and Caitlin Vieira defeats. Of course, that was after a big comeback. I mean, she beat Marion Renault, but, everyone Marion Renault, Marion was like 44 years old. and she was about to retire. I believe she did after that fight, actually. And, you know, like, that was a big comeback for Misha, because, of course, it was the whole, Misha Tate, you know, she's coming back and stuff, but she also had 2 children during her absence from the UFC. You know, she was commentating for one championship over there, doing some work and stuff like that. And, you know, came back home, you know, to pursue her mixed martial arts career. She tried to come back at the bantamweight division. Of course, you know, like, that's where she won the belt, and, you know, like that, like that's what she's known for. But it didn't really work out for her, so she went down to flyweight. And, you know, she lost to Lauren Murphy. Of course, Lauren Murphy's a good veteran at the flyweight division, still ranked up in the top 10 to this day. Even at Lauren's older age herself, she's still looking good, persevering. Of course, everyone knows her story. And yeah, man. So, like, yeah, her best streak, you know, at one point, from 2014 to 2016, you know, like, she was looking so good, you know, like, she beat Liz Carmouche at UFC on Fox 11, beat Ren Nakai, you know, she was undefeated at the time. You know, beat Sarah McMahon, beat Jessica I, and, you know, that win streak, that 4-5 win streak, earned her a shot at the crown. You feel me? And even at that fight, the co-main event of UFC 196, at the time, that was the most viewed pay-per-view of all time. Of course, that was the Diaz versus McGregor card, that fateful upset. Yeah, man, like, you know, she couldn't really get the game going against Holly. Holly was looking really good with the footwork, man, just picking her apart with the striking, the kicks, like, it's looking really good, man. And then, like the whole fight, you know, and then, like, when it hit the 5th round, you know, she managed to get the fight to the ground, and she got the submission in Holly's hands. Like, you know, she choked her out. Holly did not tap, you know, because Holly's a warrior. You feel me? And yeah, you know, like, she's been around forever. Fought in Strikeforce, won the belt over there. Coached the Ultimate Fighter, of course, her whole rivalry with Ronda Rousey, legendary rivalry for women's MMA. And yeah, man, you know, in terms of her skill set, you know, I do think Misha is a fairly decent fighter when it comes to the grappling. Obviously, you know, I think she's really good with the submissions. She has really good survival instincts, has a lot of heart. You know, a lot of heart. Still durable to this day. She's not getting, you know, dropped and knocked out, finished, anything like that to this day. Of course, she has been finished twice via TKO or KO, but, like, lately, you know, like, she's still holding up at her at the latter stages of her career. And, like, yeah, man, she had 7 wins via submission, 8 wins via decision. She's been submitted 3 times and lost via decision 4 times. So. And like I said, she's 6-6 inside the UFC. She's won and she's lost, man. I mean, like, but no, like, yeah, she's a legend for women's MMA, and she's still here. But going into her opponent, Julia Avila, the new mother, of course, got to congratulate Julia Avila for having a baby. She was out for 2 years, after beating Julija Storlyenko, choked her out. At that, which shows you that was a good victory looking back on it. Of course, I think we know now that Julija is really a flyweight. You know, I'm really happy she found her natural weight class. You know, she lost to Chajara Eubanks. It was a hard loss. That was a hard loss for Julia. I think everyone knows how much of a hard grind out veteran that Chajara Eubanks is, and, like, she was really able to implement her game plan with the grappling and like the wrestling control over Julia Avila, and really nullify her boxing and really fast hands, you know, especially back in 2020. That was definitely a good win for Chajara Eubanks. Before that, you know, she beat Gina Mazzani, Penny Kianzad. And yeah, man, you know, like she was looking good on the regional scene in HD MMA, where she was first, you know, trekking along, getting her victories, and, you know, yeah, she was finishing these girls, you know, and even then, you know, her only loss on the regional scene was a hand injury, so she's never been finished, like, knocked out, you know. So really, really durable fighter, really, really good boxer. Really fast hands when she comes forward, man. She's really aggressive. Also, really, like, chain them together. Like people that watched her fights, like you know what I'm talking about when I do that. Like, she really, like, just comes forward, super aggressive, man. And biggest thing going for her in this fight, I do think she has been training, of course, but I just wonder how she's gonna come back from having the baby, you know, and like fight speed is different from training speed, like we all know. And I think it's gonna be different when she steps in the cage. And yeah, man, she's a good grappler. Like I said, submitted Julija Storoyenko, and she's a really good grappler herself. So, and like that was in the third round at that. So like that shows she can go through a hard 3 rounds, take down a good grappler, and still get a submission. And yeah, man, and we know what she can do on the feet, what the Raging Panda can do. And yeah, man, she has 4 wins via knockout, 2 wins via submission, and 3 wins via decision. Coming into this fight, coming off her layoff, she's 35 years old, and she's 5'7" with a 69-inch reach, you know. But going into my pick in this fight, yeah, man, I was gonna go with Julia Avila in this fight, man. I was gonna go with Avila in this fight. Miesha Tate's some would say a future Hall of Famer. You know, like I get it. You know, she's lost some fights near the end of her career, but you can never take that gold belt out of her house. You know, and you know, like yeah, like her name will forever be in the record books off winning that undisputed championship. But I think in the present day, I think that this fight might be kind of a bad matchup for Miesha. I think Julia might be a little bit too active on the feet for Miesha Tate. I think she's going to walk forward, really try to come through, try to blitz her. I don't think she'll knock her out or anything like that. But I do think the jab's going to be really hard to get past for all 3 rounds. And I think the takedowns for Miesha could happen. Julia Avila doesn't have the best takedown defense. But like I said, I think she's been definitely training. Of course, after having the baby, she had to get reacclimated back to the gym, all those things and so forth. But I really do think that, you know, even like just as a fighter, I think she knows that, you know, she can win this fight if she keeps it on the feet. I think she knows that she's better on the feet in this fight. And I think she'll be faster on the feet. Even in this matchup, of course, Julia's 35 and Miesha is 37 now. Of course, that's a 2-year gap. You know, you can't really call it an advantage. You know, they're both in their mid-30s, but I do think that the layoff could have been good for Julia. Maybe she'll come back with a pep in her step, rejuvenated after all that time off and having the baby and just taking care of her body for her baby and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, this is going to be a good fight. But yeah, I got Avila via decision. Who you got?
I got Miesha. I think sorry, I think Julia hasn't really never had an active streak in the UFC. She takes a lot of years off due to whatever reasons. But Miesha, she's seen 3 of the greatest female fighters. She's seen Amanda Nunes, she's seen Ronda Rousey, and she's seen Holly Holm all in the octagon. And I think that's a big factor. And then Julia, her will to win. I think she could, work to that submission. I think she could get it, a submission off. It'd be good for her, get back in that win column. Never hurts.
Right.
That's my pick.
Of course, yeah, no, I mean, I get it for sure. But yeah, it's going to be a close fight, though. And with that, we move on to the main card of UFC Fight Night Austin. Guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon, leading into this evening now, looking out my window. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, man, let's get it started on the main card. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We love you guys. Yeah, man, going to this main card opener, we got Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I respect all fighters, you feel me? But I feel like, in this fight, in my opinion, I mean, I think Puna, we can start out with the skill set first, Puna is a really good fighter, I think he has really good bombs in his hands, man. It's just the only real problem for Puna is the gas tank issues. I think in this fight, if he can really just maintain his composure and not just hunt for the knockout, really just let it come, because he already hits so hard. I mean, with every punch he throws naturally, I think he can get the knockout. And yeah, man, in his UFC career, like I've already said, I really feel like a lot of these fights he could have won. It's just, you know, he gassed out in some of them. You know, like the Brendan Allen fight. Of course, we know Brendan Allen, looking back on it, that's a really, I mean, it's not that bad of a loss. Brendan Allen's a really, really good fighter. Of course, he's a top middleweight now. Nick Maximov got wrestled in that fight. And I think he had an injury in that fight at one point, too. And finished Dolce Lugambula. And then he got finished by Roman Kopylov, another really good striker. So you know what it looks like when he fights another high-level striker himself. And I really think that Kopylov just had the more diverse skill set in the striking on the feet than Puna did. I think Puna was trying to headhunt, and Roman was trying to pick him apart at the body to the legs, and it just accumulated. And then he came in with the punches after, you know. And on the regional scene, you know, he was knocking guys out. Looked great on Contender Series when he beat Jamie Pickett. Looking back on it, crazy. That was 4 years ago. That's wild. I remember watching that. And like, yeah, he beat Dusko Todorovic. You know, he took his O. That was a big win for Puna at the time. That was 2 undefeated middleweights. That was a really good fight. That's the first UFC on ABC. That was a great card. And yeah, man, going into Dustin Stoltzfus, this guy's had a really, really, really bad stretch as of late. Got finished in 19 seconds versus Abus Magomedov. He came over from PFL. And yeah, man, he beat Dwight Grant via unanimous decision. Even that was a hard outing for Dustin. You know, he won via unanimous decision, but I still thought that he took some hard shots. That was a close fight, and you could tell he was really humble after the fight in the way he was talking to Dwight and all that. And before that, lost three fights in a row to Kyle Dawkins. You know, got submitted by Adolfo Vieira, got submitted by GM3. And he broke Joe Pyfer's arm on Contender Series. That's how he got here, unfortunately. You know, like, that was really sad when that happened. Of course, we see Joe Pyfer here now, and he's in the main event versus Jack Hermanson, you know, so shout out to Joe Pyfer. But yeah, man, so going into this fight, I'm going to go with Punahele Soriano by a second round knockout. I think he's going to box him up to the body and just really, like, hurt him in the first round. Really not hunt for the knockout. And with all that accumulated damage in the first round, I think he's going to put him away in the second round. So I'm going to go with Punahele Soriano.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest picks for the night, in my opinion. Soriano with the knockout. I don't see another pick possible.
Yeah, man, it's just going to be a pretty crazy fight, you know. But yeah, man, going into this next fight, even then, let me ask you right quick on like a 2-minute intermission.
Yeah.
Do you think that like UFC, like so Clay Guida's in the UFC Hall of Fame, like for the fight wing, right? Do you think fighters in the fight wing of the UFC Hall of Fame should be considered Hall of Famers?
It's interesting. So my opinion with Hall of Fame, a lot of people could be legends of the sport, but the Hall of Fame needs to be prestigious. You know what I mean? Because UFC, it's not new necessarily, but it hasn't been around forever and ever and ever. You know what I mean? So you can't just keep putting every person who was good, maybe great, but you just can't throw everyone into the Hall of Fame. That's why I think there's a difference between legends of the sport and Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, Clay Guida's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, has a lot of wins, but, you know, do you put him, do you put Jim Miller? I'm going to say something controversial. Do you put Donald Cerrone? Like, yes, great fighter, great wins, but do you put him in the Hall of Fame? Does everyone go in the Hall of Fame? Because then when, you know, 50 years from now, you're going to look back like, wow, this is a big Hall of Fame group. How is this person and this person in the same Hall of Fame group? And, you know, if that's how the UFC is going to be, that's how it's going to be, you know, moving forward. But then we're going to have a lot of people in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like for me, like I just think that, man, like so many fights happen every single year. We get like 15. We try to get 15 per card. And like when these matchmakers go into these rooms, you know, and like they set these matches up fight by fight by fight. and like they play out. Some of them are duds, some of them are moderately good, and some of them are fucking bangers, you know. So for fights to be considered like Hall of Fame worthy fights, like I do think there should be like a place for that, in my opinion, only because like, you know, so many fights happen, but not everyone can produce a great monumental war like that, especially if like both fighters, like especially if it goes to like a like decision or something like that, you know, like a Hall of Fame fight, like, and like it's cool because like it's like those fights, like it's like it always brings you back to like you know, to that whole card, you know, UFC 206, like Cub Swanson versus Doo Ho Choi that just made the Hall of Fame, you know, and like that brings you back like to that whole card. That whole card, UFC 206 was crazy, period, you know, but even like that fight was on it and all that kind of stuff. And I just, you know, because, you know, Clay Guida's in the UFC Fight Wing Hall of Fame. So I was curious, you know, like, it's, you know, I really like, you know, I like that kind of stuff, you know, like, cause so many fights happen every year, but not everyone can produce a Hall of Fame fight, you know, with like a, you know, a dance partner like that. And both you guys really match the pace and intensity. And like,
it's a good point. It's a good point. Cause, you know, we have Kelvin Gastelum coming up and him with Izzy, you know, their fight, you know?
Yeah, that fight, like 1000% is going to be.
Can we ever see Kelvin being a Hall of Famer? He has to,
like, yeah, like, even then,
he has to turn his life around at welterweight right now.
Exactly.
But, you know, he deserves his recognition for what he did in that fight.
Exactly. And like, yeah, and we're gonna get to the fight, but like, yeah, exactly. And of course, we'll talk about Kelvin in a second. But it was good that you said that, because like Israel is gonna be in the UFC Hall of Fame regardless, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's cool, like, you know, when
that fight, you know, Kelvin pushed Izzy. You know what I mean? Without that fight, maybe Izzy doesn't become the fighter.
He
never got pushed. Because when was the next time Izzy got pushed after that?
Pereira,
Alex, right? All those fights in between, he never got pushed. He got hit, but he never got pushed.
Yeah, so like the Costa, he murdered Costa. So it was like physically he had it, you know, like
Yoel, Cannonier. It's like the Whitaker fight. Like, where did he get pushed? Not the way he did with Kelvin. Look at the face, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, and like that's the thing, like, and like that's what I'm saying. That's the dance partners, and like when it's like those catalysts, those fuse, the fuse, and like I really like stuff like that. And like, yeah, Kelvin could be a UFC Hall of Famer off that, you know. But yeah, you'll get into the fight. Start with the UFC Hall of Famer, Clay Guida. Yeah, man, 38-23 record. He's been around for a very, very, very long time. It's pretty crazy, you know. His fight with Diego Sanchez is one of the best ever. He's 41 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 18-17 inside the UFC. So he's making the rounds on the ranch. Yes, he is. He's been there for a while. He beat Rafa Garcia in his last fight. He lost. I'm sorry about that. I was looking at Scott Holtzman. He lost to Rafa Garcia via unanimous decision in his last fight. Lost to Chase Hooper in a grappling bout. You know, it's always good to see these veterans trying to keep their skills sharp even at this age. But that was to his detriment. You know, I'm pretty sure that calf slicer was like crazy purple, painful. You know, and yeah, shout out to Chase Hooper. But yeah, Scott Holtzman, that was a split decision victory. And for a long time, if you scroll down, Clay was on like, you know, a win-loss streak. So I really kind of, you know, summarize is that he's been trying his best to stay consistent. Of course, back in 2009 was like, you know, like he was really making his, you know, like really making his name back then was on some good win streaks, you know, really, like all these names, Kenny Florian, Nate Diaz, Diego Sanchez, Rafael Dos Anjos. Seriously, like Anthony Pettis, two golden names, just like that, y'all. Two golden names, champions, you know. And yeah, man. So in terms of his skill set, he's a really good wrestler. Really good pressure. So that's a pretty good gas tank to this day, honestly. Still made for his style when trying to get the fight to the ground off the blast double legs. It's just he doesn't really have that much activity on the feet. He'll do a lot of feints and stuff like that, but if you look closely, he's not really throwing anything. He's just moving around a lot to try to like set up the takedown. And I get it, you know, like, you know, it's like stick to what you're most strong at. And yeah, he has a lot of experience. You're not going to see many fighters that have more experience than Clay Guida at this moment. And yeah, man, he's 41 years old, the Carpenter. He's still here, man. He's trying to come out and win this fight, man. And yeah, man, going into this next fight, I mean, his opponent, Joaquim Silva. Of course, this guy, hey, he was causing an uproar in his last outing, giving Arman Tsarukyan a run for his money. Of course, that's what everyone tries to say. But yeah, like Arman dominated that fight though for the most part, 100%. And yeah, man, like so for Joaquim, he has good power. He has 7 wins via KO. He has 3 wins via submission, never been submitted, 0 losses. And 2 wins via decision. You feel me? So he's 34 years old. He's 5'8", and he's 69-inch reach. So when it comes to the physicality, they're about even in this fight. About even. He has the inch and reach. I mean the inch and height, but Clay has the inch and reach. So and yeah, Ricky, So in terms of his recent performances, he beat Ricky Glenn. I said beat. I'm tripping. I'm looking at Jesse Ronson, y'all. I'm sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. He beat Jesse Ronson with a flying knee. That was a really good victory. Looking back on it, lost to Ricky Glenn, lost to Nasser Haqparast, and beat Jared Gordon. I feel like that's definitely one of his best victories for sure. And yeah, man, lost to Vince Pichel. The battle of the veterans right there. Well, at that time, he was in his 20s, but, Vince Pichel has been around forever. It's just unfortunate with Vince Pichel. He's kind of inactive sometimes. And Reza Badadi, got a split decision win over him. And he knocked out Andrew Holbrook in 34 seconds back at the Ultimate Fighter for 23 finale. So, yeah, man. All in the regional scene, he looked really good. On his way to competing in the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. Of course, he lost to Glaucao Franca. But, hey, he still made his way here. He was still good enough that they signed him, and he made his debut at UFC 191. And he got the victory, And just like that, he's been making his way in the UFC ever since. And, yeah, man, he has good power. He did hurt Arman a little bit, indeed, in that fight. But like I said, Arman really kind of, dominated the fight after that. And he's a good grappler. Has 3 wins via submission, and he's never been submitted himself. So he has good submission defense with what he's showcased so far. And yeah, man, in this fight, I was going to go with Joaquim Silva in this fight, man. I really think he'll be able to stuff some of the takedowns that Clay is going to try to do. And I think he'll be faster on the feet, hit harder on the feet. And I think he's going to hurt Clay Guida. I think he'll probably take the fight to decision. I don't think Clay's going to get knocked out, but I think that Joaquim knows that Clay's going to be shooting for the takedowns. I don't want to say Clay's one-dimensional, but he's really aggressive with the wrestling and won't really stand up that much. And like he'll try to. He might even try in this fight. But I think once he feels the power, he's gonna want to wrestle even more, and that's gonna show the game plan. Oh, here we go, and and then Joaquim's gonna get the sprawl and brawl going, and start to hurt him more on the feet and win a decision. But how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I can't stop thinking about the age. It's hard to pick an older fighter when they're not, unless they're like a top ranked fighter like Wing Glover. It's hard to pick them when they're at that age. With Silva, he could stop the takedown. It might be a little hard to get that striking going with the amount of, the double legs he's going to shoot for with Clay. I think it might be hard for Silva to find his momentum with his striking. But I think a lot of this fight is going to be in the clinches, trying to get him down to the ground. I just think Silva has a little bit of a better skill set. Sorry, that's not at all how I should have said it. But with the age, you know what I mean? I think a little bit of youth is going to matter in this fight. Clay just has one foot out the door, I feel. It's hard to pick him.
Yeah.
Do you disagree?
No, it's all good. It's funny how you said it. It's okay.
It's just hard to pick him, in my opinion. Minus 340 says something.
He's an active future. I mean, he's an active UFC Hall of Famer. So
for sure. But
I mean, he's been around for
But he's fighting at 41 years old, and how often does that work out?
That's the point.
It's hard to pick those kind of fights. If he was younger, maybe the speed will still be there, and we don't know what he's gonna look like in this fight. You know, every fight's different.
Oh no, I definitely agree. You know, like that's what I meant. You know, like he's an active UFC Hall of Famer, so that lets you know he's definitely, you know, pretty up there in age. You know, but you know, still a veteran and a lot of experience that you might be able to implement. But yeah, I got Silva by decision in this fight. And yeah,
I'd have to agree with you. I mean, Silva loses the grappling exchanges. So if Clay can get it, there's his method of victory. But right now, I'm gonna have to take Silva also by decision.
No, I feel you. All right, bet. So these next 4 fights from here on out are pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, man. So this fight's really interesting.
Does that even look like Kelvin G? I'm sorry, like.
Right. Oh, well, on the right, absolutely, yeah, for sure, yeah, man. You know, he put some pounds on, but
seen him the other day, doesn't even look like him to me.
No, I get it. You know, he's put some pounds on, but you know, he's been around for a while. You know, the Ultimate Fighter 17 winner. So, yeah, man, going to Sean Brady. So Sean Brady was 15. You know, he was undefeated, and it's, you know, coming into his last fight. Of course, you all know what happened on the infamous UFC 280 pay-per-view, legendary card, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, he got finished by Bilal Muhammad, standing punches. Now, does that sound good? Not really, but you know, but I feel like Bilal Muhammad was underrated going into that fight, and I think Bilal is still a pretty good. You know, he's a good fighter. It's just no one knew that it was happening with the hands. You know, I'm watching the embeddeds, and Brady's like, you know, I could fight for a belt right now. Now I get it. Excuse me. I want all the fighters to be confident. Every fighter, even if I'm not picking against them, I want them to be confident. So we see the best fights, the best car crashes, you know. But at the same time, when you're talking like that, you know, and he came out, you know, and he started like, you know, breaks off him. You feel me? Like I was honestly surprised. You feel me? And I feel like Brady's still a really good fighter. He got his nose fixed. You know, he was one of the many fighters that were dealing with the nose problems. And I really feel like, because, you know, like that showed in the Michael Chiesa fight where he looked great in like the first 2 rounds. In round 3, he started to get boxed up a little bit. And I feel like that was the nose back then. And he looked, you know, like he got it fixed and like he was looking good, man. And like that was supposed to show in the Bilal fight, you know, but he came out and he got finished in the 2nd round, you know. But before that, he was looking good, man. Undefeated, like I said, really was one of those undefeated dudes, had a lot of hype, you know, kind of had like an aura at some point, and, you know, like aura of invincibility when I say that, y'all. And yeah, man, like it's just, he was looking good, you know, like, of course, the Court McGee fight, well, that was some early adversity back then, you know, but after that, he looked good in, like, you know, in the Ismail fight, in the Christian Aguilera fight, in the Jake Matthews fight. Like, he just made those improvements, you know, and he has a win over Gilbert Urbina, you know, Colton Smith, he beat Mike Jones, and yeah, man, he was undefeated in his amateur career too, you know, fighting that CFFC. So, that was really his first ever career loss, you know, versus Bilal Muhammad. I really feel like that was a major learning curve for him. And I really think he's going to try to come out and try to bounce back in this one, you know. But in terms of his skill set, before we get to Calvin, you know, he has 3 wins via knockout, 4 wins via submission, and 8 wins via decision. So he, you know, that's only his first loss. It just happened. So, that was a while ago. Like, that was like over a year ago. You feel me? So that was last October. So yeah, man, he definitely took the necessary time off to make the necessary improvements, and we're gonna see if they pay dividends in this fight. And yeah, man. Also, I know he was supposed to fight Jack Della Maddalena. I would have loved to seen that fight. You know,
that would have been a good one for sure.
Great fight. You know. But yeah, I mean, going to his opponent, and like how me and Nikki just discussed, the potential future UFC Hall of Famer. You know, great fight with Israel. Kelvin Gastelum, man, this has been here for a really long time. Former UFC title challenger. Back at UFC 236. He's 32 years old, man. He's still pretty young, man. He's still here at 32, like you could say he's in his prime, but I get it. He's had a lot of fights, a lot of experience, like so like that can really vary primes when you're having a lot of fights, but like you're still young though, you know. And yeah, I mean he's 5'9". He has a 71 half-inch reach. And yeah, man, so he's, you know, coming out of San Jose, California, and his head coach is Rafael Cordero. He has 5 wins via knockout. He's never been knocked out. If you watch MMA, you know that Kelvin has one of the best chins of all time, no exaggeration. 2 wins via two losses via submission, 5 wins via submission, 7 wins via decision, 6 losses via decision. So that shows you like that rock hard chin. Those 6 losses via decision. He's 12-8 inside the UFC. Had one of the craziest schedules of all time in the middleweight division, having to fight Israel Adesanya, to Darren Till, to Jack Hermanson, beat Ian Heinisch, back to Robert Whittaker, back to Jerry Cannonier, and then he fought Chris Curtis. Now, the Chris Curtis fight, there was controversy of a headbutt in that fight. Now, like, I get it. You know, like, Chris Curtis went on a rant on Twitter after, and, like, you know, he has every right to challenge his claim, you know, to an appeal, to maybe, like, get a no contest or anything like that, you know, but it's still a victory for Kelvin Gastelum. And I thought Kelvin was looking good in that fight, you know, leading up until the end. And even before that headbutt, it was honestly just an unfortunate clash of heads. Like you know, Chris was going down, it's like Kelvin was going up, and it was just boom, you know. And it was that was really really unfortunate at that classic UFC 287 card. Definitely classic in my opinion. Great card, great pay-per-view. And yeah, man, like in terms of his wins, he has notable wins over Ronaldo Souza. That's Jacare, for those that don't know. Michael Bisping.
Interesting one right there, man.
Yeah, right.
Because you know, Bisping just came off that GSP fight. And
yeah. Facts. Yeah. Yes, he did.
There was no reason for him to take that fight.
Take the fight, you know. Of course, the backstory, guys. You know, Michael Bisping just lost his title and Ultimate Fighting Championship 217. Of course, that New York card where GSP came back after 4 years, and then Kelvin was supposed to fight someone else in the card. It was at and then Michael, Silva. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it was Silva, and then Michael Bisping has stepped in. It was in the Shanghai card, and Michael Bisping flew out to China, and he got knocked out.
Was that a short notice for Michael?
It was. It was like a 1 week or 2 weeks. It was like something like that. He took it like
not something. Obviously, you just want a belt off short notice, but I mean, it just wasn't the fight to take.
Oh yeah, man. It just, you know, like
after losing your belt, there's no need to rush back out. That's drawing board time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I think Michael was going through a lot at the time, like just having to pay off like some medical bills. Probably he said like at the time in like interviews during his championship reign, like because he won the belt at an older age, like that's when his body was really starting to break down when he knocked out Luke Rockhold, and like he had to take advantage to get the most money. You know, that's why he was chasing that rematch with Dan Henderson and that super fight with the GSP. But yeah, man. So he knocked out Bisping. Lost to Weidman, you know, it was an arm triangle choke in the 3rd round. You know, it was an unfortunate loss for Kelvin, but I feel like that's always been a product of him fighting at middleweight. You know, like I think with him, like just fighting these bigger dudes, like they always have the weight advantage, the reach advantage. It's always going to be an issue when you're trying to grapple with these dudes. You know, you really got to outmuscle them. You know, and Chris Weidman's a great wrestler. We all know that. So no contest with Vitor Belfort, unfortunately, you know, like, you know, is what it is. You feel me? And then with Tim Kennedy, he beat Johnny Hendricks, lost to Neil Magny, who we know is a great veteran. And 2015 Magny is definitely a different animal, for sure. Not only Magny's a bad fighter now, just, you know, that was 8 years ago.
Just a gatekeeper now.
Mm-hmm. And Nate, and like he beat, and like you know, like Nate Marquardt. You know that was corner stoppage. Of course, we all know how good of a fighter Nate Marquardt is, and like the infamous Tyron Woodley loss. Now that kind of sums up with what's going on today, man. As you can see, he missed weight at that fight back at UFC 183, and like he moved up to middleweight after that. You know, he weighed in at 180. It was a catch weight. Of course, we all know welterweight is 170 pounds. Of course, 171 if it's not a title fight. And he weighed in 9 pounds over. Now, like, you know, for that fight, Tyron was cool enough to give him back his purse, you know, like his half of the purse, like the 30%. He gave Kelvin back that money. And he was like, nah, you're straight, but you can keep it, bro. And that was really cool with Tyron, you know. Not many people know that Tyron did that, you know. And then he beat Jake Ellenberger, Nico Musoke. And yeah, man, you know, he's been here for a really long time, man. Like, you know, he won the Ultimate Fighter. He beat Uriah Hall. And this from then on there, he's been here. So like in for his skill set, Kelvin's a really good boxer, good wrestler, has decent jiu-jitsu, decent grappling. You know, he's good with taking the back, you know, and sinking in the submission. Like that one over Jake Ellenberger. That was a beautiful submission. And yeah, man, like I just think this is a really close fight. Really, really, really close fight. Excuse me. No, I'm not gonna lie. I wish we were doing our show. Like maybe like the day of the weigh-ins or something like that.
Why do you say that?
Because this is a close fight, man. Like it's a close fight. I never wrote down a pick for this fight. Like I never made the decision. It's a close fight, man. I just really wish I could see the weigh-ins before, man. But I'm gonna go with Kelvin Gastelum, man. I'm gonna go with Kelvin Gastelum. I'm gonna go with Kelvin Gastelum, man. I think he can win this fight, man. I think he's a really good wrestler, really, really strong, compact frame. I think once he's fighting someone that's his size and they have the same reach, so they'll have the same like body composition in the cage and all that. I really feel like it'll be a good fight for Kelvin, man. I think he's the better boxer on the feet. Yes, he has the better combinations. He's like, I think he's the better technical striker. I think I think he's hard to take down, man. I know his takedown defense has gone down in recent years, but that's from fighting really good grapplers up a weight division. And I always felt he was a welterweight. Of course, he climbed his way to the 4th ranked middleweight in the world when he fought Israel. But of course, I feel like that, you know, again, like, you know, he was 27 years old and like he was really inspired back then. And he took all those losses and now he's really inspired again, enough so that he's going back now to his natural weight class, you know. So I really think that Kelvin knows he can win this fight. He's not going to get he just got this momentum from this Chris Curtis win. And like, I really think he's going to try to take it, man, and finally put together a streak. He's only 32 years old. He's still young. He can still make a run for the title. Sean's a ranked welterweight. He's still in the top 10 right now, so that's something like good 2-3 wins to fight for a belt. You know, 2-3. You know, he'd probably be 33 around that time. That's still young. Try to fight for a title. You know, this is all hypotheticals, y'all, but I think Kelvin could get the victory, man. Like, it just depends how he looks on the scale. It really just depends how he looks on the scale. I really believe that. And I think Kelvin can get it done. You never know how a fight's going to happen until it happens. I get it. You know, it can sound like, oh, man, there's just no, like, it just doesn't, you can't mentally envision it. Like, oh, Kelvin really came back down and really, like, he's in, like, you know, new life and a new weight class, and especially after all those losses. But it can happen, man. Like, Jose Aldo did it. He was the champion for years and lost and, like, got it again, lost it again, and went down in a way to put together a streak. And like, I mean, I really think that Kelvin can do it, man. And yeah, you know, he almost beat Israel Adesanya. So I really feel like an inspired Kelvin is a dangerous Kelvin, as they always say, you know. So I really think he can win this fight. I'm gonna go with Kelvin via decision. I don't think he'll knock out Sean Brady. I mean, if Bilal can do it, I think Kelvin has the power for sure. But damn. I'm gonna go with the 3rd round. Decision for Kelvin. I think Sean's gonna kind of play it safe in the boxing combinations once he feels the power, and I think Kelvin's gonna be ready for the takedowns too. You know, and just be ready for all that stuff. So like I'm gonna take Kelvin in this fight.
I like that pick. All the stats, when you look at them, they're in Sean Brady's favor, but it's weird because Kelvin's going to be in a new weight class now, and stats could change. He's not going to be having to jump out of range to get into range. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's always been so small, and obviously they're the same weight, but it's just small and reach advantages where he's having to come past their reach. And I think now we can see a new Kelvin. Hopefully he makes the weight. He looked really good in the picture I seen on Twitter. He looks happy. He's smiling. He's flexing. That's all a good sign. He's never not been at war. I mean, he's just such a good fighter. He's just borderline there. You know what I mean? You look at his record, and we're always on Tapology, and you look at those L's, but it's like, if you know who Kelvin is, you can't really hold that against him too much. Those are greats. Those are great middleweights. Those dudes they're still top of the division, to this day.
Official Hall of Famers.
This new Kelvin can get this win. I mean, it's going to be a war. Sean Brady said he's there to welcome him to the division. You got to remember, Kelvin was about to fight Shavkat. Do we think Shavkat and Sean Brady are on the same level? Because Shavkat, yes, he's welcoming Kelvin to the division. Can Sean Brady do it? It's not going to be a smackdown, obviously. I don't think Kelvin's just going to beat him down. But I think now that he doesn't have to fight bigger fighters like Chris Curtis or someone tall and long like Israel Adesanya or Cannonier, I think this is going to be like, he's almost going to be excellent in this fight. And I think this is going to be his first fight of like many just great fights until he's a top 3. I think he can make it in that top 5 of the welterweights for sure. I'm going to take Kelvin. I don't think it's a knockout though. I think it's going to be a decision. This would be a nice five round.
5-rounder, like
but how many 5 round? All these main events could be all these main card fights could be a 5 round.
Yeah, 5 round. If it was like a pay-per-view with no belt, for damn near. Like once it hits the main card, you feel me? Like, all right, bet. So yeah, man. Going in this next one, we got Rob Font versus Davison Figueiredo.
Biggie's back. Let's go.
Yeah, man. This is it's a close fight, man. This is a really, really close fight. I did it with Miesha Tate, so I'm gonna do it in this case too. I'm gonna start out with the golden name, Davis Figueiredo, the former UFC flyweight champion, one of the greatest 125-pound martial artists of all time, one of the most powerful flyweights ever, if not the most powerful flyweight ever. Of course, he's going up a division now, so he's supposed to be a bantamweight now, but in terms of his career, he's 35 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach. He has 9 wins by knockout, 8 wins via submission, and 4 wins via decision. He has 10 wins. He has 10 wins in the UFC and only 3 losses. So we all know what he's been doing the last few years. He fought Brandon Moreno 4 times in a row in one of the greatest rivalries ever in MMA history. Not just UFC history, but MMA history, period. One of the greatest rivalries, really saved the flyweight division. Great, the headline pay-per-views. That's how good the rivalry was, And yeah, man, so in terms of his notable wins, those 2 beautiful wins over Joseph Benavidez. Of course, Benavidez was at the latter half of his career, but he was still good enough to be near the top of the division to challenge for a title. So Joseph Benavidez was still pretty good at the time. Choked out Tim Elliott, beat Alexandre Pantoja, who we know is now the UFC flyweight champion himself, the current king of the division. Lost to Jussier Formiga. I think Formiga had a really good game plan in that fight, and he just came out and really just looked good against the Davis Figueiredo, and that was a really good shaping loss for Davison, and we saw the streak he went on after that. But before that, his early UFC days, back at UFC 212, he beat Marco Beltran. The corner stopped it. There's devastating, great win. He beat Jared Brooks via split decision. Beat Joseph Morales with the knockout in the second round, and he beat John Moraga. So, yeah, man. And on the regional scene, he looked great too. You know, he was undefeated before he got to the UFC, and his first loss was in the UFC. That's always a great sign. You know, like I feel like that really shows you overall he's just a really good fighter. That was a champion that was indeed on his way. So, going into the present day of Davis Figueiredo's career. I'm sorry about that. Going into the present day. Yeah, man. So he's had these fights with with Brandon. I feel like these fights were really good for him. They really that was the definition of iron sharpens iron. And like that was great, like just awesome, phenomenal series of fights. I wasn't in that camp of people on Twitter, like X, that really thought, you know, they didn't want to see the fights anymore. Literally every single time they stepped in there, it was a great fight. There was never any time the fight was not entertaining. I watched those two fight 10 times, and I thought that fight series was great. And like it was a built character for him, you know, even though Brandon was like 6 years younger, going back and forth with that dude, like it was still like good for him to be able to compete with a younger, faster dude like that, and still come out on top. But you know, with the power, with the grappling, you know, all that stuff, with the distance management. We know he was working with Henry Cejudo, who helped him bring that belt home. That you know, at UFC 270. And he's looked really good that night with the distance management. And yeah, man. So in terms of his skill set, like I said, he has monumental power. We gotta see how it translates to the bantamweight division, though. And he has, you know, great jiu-jitsu. The way he dropped down on Alex Perez, you know, dropped down to the floor and like, you know, on his leg and, you know, attack that submission. Like just those type of instincts, like, you know, like how he submitted Tim Elliott and like how he already beat Alexandre Pantoja. We know how good of a grappler Pantoja is. And, you know, he got the victory over him 4 years ago. Now, of course, you know, Pantoja's definitely gotten better since then. And I wouldn't mind seeing Pantoja versus Figueiredo too. Probably won't happen now.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense anymore.
But yeah, man. Going into his opponent in this fight, though, Rob Font, fighting out of the New England Cartel, Boston, Massachusetts. You know, Calvin Kattar, all them boys. Yeah, man. So he's a good boxer, man. Probably like, if not the best boxer in the bantamweight division. I mean, it's kind of, you kind of can't say that now, in my opinion, with Sean O'Malley winning the belt now. I feel like, you know, if that, like with that belt, I mean, like with that striking, that boxing, that counter striking, winning him a title, I feel like that crowns him as the best boxer inside the bantamweight division now. I think Sean O'Malley is. I would pick him to beat Rob Font if they were to fight. And yeah, man, but going into Rob Font, though, man, he's been around for forever, man. He's always fighting in December. It's pretty funny. Yeah, he's fighting in December again. It's pretty funny. Like, he always fights in December. He even said it himself. He's 36 years old, 5'8", with a 71.5-inch reach. He's 10-6 inside the UFC. Has 9 wins via knockout. He's never been knocked out. Very, 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 very solid chin. He has 4 wins via submission, so he has a diverse skill set. And he has 7 wins via decision, 6 losses via decision. Like I said, that shows you, just like Calvin, literally, that rock solid chin. And yeah, man, his last fight, he lost to Corey Sandhagen. Of course, we know he took that fight on short notice. That was originally supposed to be Umar Nurmagomedov versus Corey Sandhagen. Before that, he beat Adrian Yanez, knocked him out in the first round. It was a great bounce back victory for Rob Font. A lot of people had Rob Font losing that fight, you know, and it was good to see him turn back a young prospect like that. Of course, Adrian is going through some adversity now in his career, but I still think he could bounce back. You know, he's still really young, you know, and he had a son recently. Congratulations to Adrian. And yeah, this fights before that, lost to Marlon Vera, who is now the current UFC title challenger. So you really can't take too much away from that, the current UFC bantamweight title challenger. And lost to Jose Aldo. Now he got outboxed in that fight. Aldo just looked great, man. I thought he almost finished him at one point. He hurt him to the body, then like folded, and he like hit a flying knee, and like he started like grounding pound. I thought like, he was gonna finish him at one point. But of course, Font showed that durability, that heart to weather that storm. Knocked out the former UFC bantamweight king Cody Garbrandt. Knocked out Marlon Moraes. That really put him on the map. He was 11. He was the number 11 ranked fighter at the time of that victory, and Marlon Moraes was number 3, trying to take a step down in competition, and it blew up in his face. Before that, beat Ricky Simone, which even looking back on it now, it's still a great victory, and beat the former UFC, the former Bellator bantamweight champion Sergio Pettis. You know, shout out to Sergio. He had a great run, man. Great fighter. Shout out to Sergio. And yeah, man, he lost to Rafael Assunção. Of course, we all know how good Assunção was back in 2018. Like that was a good summer for fights. And yeah, man, like he beat Thomas Almeida. Lost to Pedro Munoz, beat Douglas De Silva Andrade, who still looks good to this day, and has a win over Matt Schnell, who's a flyweight. So yeah, man. And like I said, he's been here for a very long time. He made his debut at UFC 175 on July 5th, 2014, on the Weidman Machida card. So yeah, man, he's been here for a really, really long time. You feel me? So, but yeah, like I said, his skill set, Font is a really, really good boxer, really, really fast jab, really good at utilizing his reach with the jab. He's really good at maintaining the distance. Once he finds the jab distance, that's all it takes. If he finds it in the first round, you're gonna have a hard time getting past it for the rest of the fight. Even if you're a good wrestler, it's really hard to get past that jab. You have to have a really good, diverse striking skill set, hit him to the body, to drop his hands and like nullify that gas tank, so he's not walking you down, just jabbing you for 15 minutes or 25 minutes. And yeah, man, this is a really, really close fight. I was thinking about this shit all day. Excuse my language, y'all. I was thinking about this all day. Man, I'm not one to. I don't make ballsy picks and I'm like that. I don't I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I'm really analytical and I really good deep. I really dig deep when I'm making these picks. But of course, in a sport like MMA, anything can happen on any given fight, y'all. So never feel like if an upset happens or anything, whatever, that you could have called it. If you say a fight's gonna happen one way, it happens the other. You couldn't control that. Any fight can happen any given way, any given time. But literally, with all that said, I was gonna go with Davis and Figueiredo in this fight, man. I was gonna go with Davis and Figueiredo in this fight. It's just I feel like he can get it done, man. I really feel like it was the weight cut that was stopping us from seeing the full potential of Davis and Figueiredo, and I don't feel bad about the pick, not at all. I get it. Rob Font's coming off a loss, but it was really due to grappling. The grappling of Corey Sandhagen. I really want to see how Figueiredo looks on the scale. You guys can check our Twitter. If you ever see, I'm not one to change picks. I don't like changing picks. I don't like doing that. But it's not fair if a fighter's going in just depleted and stuff like that. But he should be good though because he's going up 10 pounds. You feel me? So I just really want to see how he looks on the scale, man. This is a former champion. It's one of the greatest flyweights of all time. If they go blow for blow in the pocket, I get it. Like Font's gonna have the better jab, but I think Davison has really good spinning kicks, really good leg kicks. Like he has really good body kicks. Like he was giving Brandon a lot of trouble in the stand up. He's not chinny. His eye got swollen, and I think he broke his orbital at UFC 283, and I think with he already hits so hard at flyweight, and I get it. Like we got to see if the power translates, man. And we got to see if it translates. But I think with those added 10 pounds, he'll feel so rejuvenated and like that. So he might be even faster, kind of like when Alex Pereira moved up to light heavyweight, and it found new life, you know? So I really think that this is just going to be, man, it's a crazy fight. As the odds indicate, there are people picking Davison. Of course, I go off my own opinion. Nobody else is. And this is a close fight, man. It's a really, really close fight, man. You know, I'm going to go with Figueiredo, man. I'm going to go with Davis Figueiredo, man. But who you got, man? Go ahead.
Well, you know, there are people picking Davidson Figueiredo, and there's 2 people in this chat picking Davidson Figueiredo, because I'm right there with you. Rob Font, you know, he's a great fighter, a great boxer. He's probably going to try and walk down Davidson, and Davidson's going to be moving around the ring, moving and kicking and punching and moving and shooting. He just has a full set of fighting ability, and he's a champion, you know, battle tested.
Yeah, man.
It's way better competition.
Hell yeah, man.
And that's not a knock to Rob Font. He just faced way better competition. Obviously, he's going to be a little smaller this fight. So I think him being so mobile, moving around the ring is going to be good. And he's quick. His punches are quick, and his kicks are quick. And I can see him catching Rob Font. I don't know how this one's going to end out. I don't think Rob Font would get knocked out. But if it goes to the ground, Davidson has full control on the ground. I mean, if he grabs a leg and he gets into a clinch, that's the perfect scenario for him. As long as he doesn't get elbowed, you know, kneed or anything. If he could just get a hold of Rob Font, he's in a good situation. He could definitely get him to the ground. It doesn't even have to lift him. He'll trip him if he has to. But we have to see. This is going to be his first fight at 135. You know, he was a great 125er, but no one knows how he'll be at 135. I'm taking Davidson. I'd love to see him hit like a nice little kick to the jaw or something, but I think decision would be the smartest way to pick it.
I agree. You know, Font's never been knocked out. So I'm gonna go Figueiredo via decision. I think he'll hit harder in the exchanges. I think he'll find a way against that jab, man. I get it. Like Moreno is giving him problems with the jab, but I really feel like that was the weight cut, man. I want to see how he looks up. Like everyone kept talking about for years, is he gonna really move up? And he actually did it. He's doing it now, like on a main card of a fight night. I get it. It's not in the feature bout of a pay-per-view, but it's definitely still a really big fight in the division. And like the card has fans for a reason. It's supposed to have that pay-per-view feel, you know. And yeah, man. I'm gonna go Figueiredo via decision, man. But yeah, guys, as we almost wrap up this podcast, we move on to the co-main event of the evening. Jalen Turner versus Bobby Green. Now, of course, we all know the story. Jalen Turner's taking this fight on short notice. This was originally supposed to be Dan Hooker in a double headlining 5-round fights co-main in the main event, you know. We start out with Turner, the tarantula, coming in to save the fight, of course. Jalen Turner, of course, he's a lightweight freak. He's 6'3", with a really long reach, 75.5 inches. That's really, really, really big for lightweight. He's 6'4" in the UFC, but a lot of those fights are from when he was young, like those losses. And he's improved a lot in these last couple of years, and you can definitely tell by that 5-fight win streak. I mean, you know, in terms of his career, he has 9 wins via knockout, 3 losses via TKO. Some of them more up a division. He has 4 wins via submission, and he's never gone to decision. So he has a 100% finish rate. Like he always says, like he gets paid by he doesn't get paid by the round, so he's out. That's what he said one time. And yeah, man. So you know he beat Brad Riddell. That was a beautiful victory. Beat Jamie Malarkey, another great win. Udos Medic picked him apart with the body shots. And then got to the rear naked choke. And he was hurting Jamie to the body too. Like he's really been using that reach to the body very well, because it's also hard for these guys to try to touch his chin because he's so tall, and you know good at moving in and out. And he beat Brock Weaver. Can't really take too much away from that. I don't know if Brock Weaver is really UFC caliber like that. And beat Josh Cooley bout. That's a great win. Looking back on it, Josh Cooley bout was very, very, very good. I know he just lost to Lerone Murphy, but he was in a 3-fight win streak himself before that loss to Lerone Murphy. And yeah, man, he's really like kept a good pace throughout his entire career. Like always learning after the losses, always trying to find the benefits and like in the mistakes, and like his last 2 fights, he lost to Mateusz Gamrot. I was at that card, UFC 285, Jones versus Gane. That was a close fight. I thought some dudes in the crowd thought Turner won it. I did too, but a lot of people in the crowd thought Gamrot won it too. It was pretty funny. Dudes jumping out their chairs when he got the decision. And he lost a war with Dan Hooker. That was a split decision. I thought he won the first round undoubtedly. And like I was really surprised to see Dan Hooker just weathered that storm like that, and he came back and he won the fight, And in terms of Jalen's skill set, he's a really good boxer, good striking, really good leg kicks, good body kicks, good head kicks too. Just a wide variety of kicks, man. He's really good at using those long legs to really like get the distance management and just blast the body of his opponent. Good boxing too, has really good reach, really fast hands. Because some of these dudes don't really know how to use their reach properly. He's really good at using his reach. And yeah, man, he's coming out on short notice. That's the biggest thing. Can he make the weight? It was around Thanksgiving when he got the call, so I'm pretty sure he was definitely eating around the holiday. And yeah, man, we're gonna see what happens. So going into his opponent, Bobby King Green. Of course, this guy was not easy. He was already scheduled to fight on this date, coming off a great victory in his last fight, knocked out Grant Dawson in about 33 seconds. He's 12-9 inside the UFC, fought in Strikeforce as well. Beat Tony Ferguson as well, man. That was a great submission. Regardless of what people want to say, it was still a good victory. And the way he took Tony, he picked him apart all 3 rounds and still finished him in the 3rd. Like that. That was a very good victory, in my opinion. I know some people are going to try to take it away, with Tony's current state at the moment. I get it, though. The 6 losses or 7, something like that. And then, yeah, man. So he lost to Drew Dober. Of course, he was looking great in that fight before losing to Drew Dober. Even Drew Dober said it. He thought he was going to lose that fight. Bobby looked really, really good in that matchup. And he lost to Islam, who's the current champion. And of course, he took that fight on short notice. That was supposed to be Beneil Dariush that night. And we all know Beneil rolled his ankle and he was injured. He beat Nasrat Haqparast. That was a good victory. And he retired Al Iaquinta at UFC 268. Rafael Fiziev lost to him. That was a good fight, though. He was coming on in that 3rd round, man. He was really making Fiziev he looked good, man, really good in that fight. Better than people thought he would. Lost to Thiago Moises. That's what I thought that was a close fight. I thought he could have won that, to be honest. It was a really, really close fight, in my opinion, and had a good 3-fight win streak before that, man. It was just trekking along, looking really good. And yeah, he's just a veteran. Fought Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza, has a win over Josh Thompson, really good win. Went to a draw with Lando Venata. Was scheduled to fight Beneil Dariush himself, but unfortunately it didn't happen. He got injured. That was a UFC 222. And yeah, man, has a win over Hall of Famer Clay Guida. And yeah, he just been around for a while. And just got that Latin. His most recent win, a great win, 33-second straight right over Grant Dawson, was just a beautiful knockout. And going into this fight, man, again, I wish we could see the weigh-ins before we do our shows and stuff, but we do our shows kind of earlier. We prefer to do them earlier in the week, unless we get busy with school and work and stuff like that. But I was going to go with Jalen Turner in this matchup. I know he's coming off the short notice. I don't think he would take the fight if he wasn't ready. And in terms of the skill set, I think just with the way the bodies are set up in this fight, he's really good at it's like it's not tailor made, but it's a good fight for him in the way he'll be able to use his footwork to keep Bobby at a distance with those long legs and just like pick, you hit him to the body, hit him to the leg with those kicks, jab him up with that longer reach. Because Bobby's, preferred boxer. And I think Jalen's going to be really good at keeping the distance management and just, boxing him away. He has a 4.5 inch reach advantage. And it's 6'3" to 5'10". So he'll be noticeably bigger. So he can also wrestle in the fight if you were to choose to. And I do think that he can get the victory. I get he's coming in on short notice. If he does have a bad weight cut, I would lean more towards Bobby Green. Just, I know, because it's already a close fight. And, with Bobby, I think he could definitely take advantage of Jalen not being fully prepared and being slower, knowing how fast Bobby is. But, I think Turner can get it done. And I'm going to go with Jalen Turner via decision.
Yeah, I didn't even see the betting odds till now. I was actually thinking that Bobby Green was going to be the favorite for the fight. Seeing Jalen Turner on short notice be the favorite is pretty crazy. I'm also taking Jalen Turner. I think that reach is going to play a big factor. It really counters what Bobby Green is good at.
Right.
Walk down boxing. Now he's going to have to play more defensive. He's going to have to counter a lot. Bobby could do it, and he's also got a submission recently against Tony, so he's not useless on the ground. But Jalen, really long. It's going to just slither right around him and really do what he wants. I feel when the clinching, the knees are going to be insane. If he gets a hold of the back of Bobby's neck, those knees are coming right up to the chin, and it doesn't take a lot for him to get them that high. The thing with Jalen, he gets rocked, he's going to start wobbling. We saw that with Dan Hooker. He didn't necessarily, I wouldn't say he slowed down, but he was wobbly noticeably for the end of that fight. That's if Bobby catches him, it's going to be really bad for him. But Jalen's going to keep it at distance and go for the clinching. He's going to do what he always does. He could sprawl. He could do it all. I'm rhyming too, my bad. I'm taking a Jalen decision here. I don't see a knockout for him, but he's just going to do a lot of damage with the jabs, the kicks. And, yeah, you were right about the body punches. That's something he's been working on. It's really good. So I'm taking Jalen.
Okay, then. Yeah, word. Yeah, man. We agreed on the co-main. And, yeah, y'all, with the last fight of the evening, last fight of the night for us and for Saturday night. Yeah, man. So the main event. All right, guys. So how we prefer to do our main events. So both guys can talk about the last fight on the way out the door. We like to let one person do the blue corner, one person do the red corner. So I'm gonna let my boy Nikki do the blue, and I'm gonna take the red. And I can take Beneil Dariush, man. And yeah, man, starting out with Beneil Dariush. I felt really bad for Beneil, man. In his last fight, he was this close to fighting for a belt. He in NBA terms, he almost made the finals. Almost made the championship of the division that he fights in, and he was almost there, man. It was really unfortunate. You feel me? Like he was on like an 8-9 fight win streak. Wins over Gamrot, Diego Ferreira, Holtzman, Shakar Close, Frank Camacho, Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, 2 good wins right there. Gamrot, another good win. Yeah, man, he was just like, he was in prime form. He looked great. And then once he got to the Charles Oliveira matchup, something happened, I really think the moment might have got to him maybe, or it's just the fact he was fighting one of the greatest lightweights of all time, and Charles Oliveira, and it was really unfortunate that, he got knocked out in the first round. But in terms of his career, he has 5 wins via knockout, 8 wins via submission, and 9 wins via decision. He's never gone. He's never lost via decision. But But yeah, and on the loss side, he has 4 losses via knockout, and 1 loss via submission. So all his losses come by way of finish for Beneil Dariush. Anytime he's ever lost, it was by finish, whether a knockout or a submission. And he's been around for a while, you know. Has won over James Vick, Michael Johnson, Jim Miller, Diego Ferreira twice, you know. And yeah, man, like he's just like, yeah, he has good power. Beneil has definitely really good boxing power. Something like technically it's not the best. Sometimes he'll overextend a little bit, but when he lands and connects, he hits very hard. We saw how he dropped Matheus Gamrot at UFC 280 when he sent him rolling back like that, off that overhand right, or left. Yeah, I think it was an overhand left. And then yeah, he's a great grappler. We also saw in the Gamrot fight with another high-level wrestler that he was really nullifying all those grappling scrambles and exchanges, ending up on top sometimes and really attacking submissions to make Gamrot want to get back up to his feet, really showing that he's well-versed once it hits the fight and on the feet. It's just the main problem with Beneil is that it's his chin, his durability. I think sometimes he's, you know, once you fight these high-level fighters, like you're gonna fight in wars, you know, and like, you know, he's been hit. You know, like the Edson Barboza, like that was a flying knee. Anyone can be knocked out with a flying knee if it lands on the chin, like right on the button. The Alexander Hernandez, he faked a glove touch and he flurried Beneil and, like, you know, kind of caught him off guard and he got knocked out. And then Michael Chiesa, he got submitted, you know, and then most recently, but even before Charles, you know, his second fight in the UFC, he got knocked out by Ramsey Nijem, and that was in the first round, you know. So he had already shown that, and like I always say, if you see a fighter, even if early in their career, if they get knocked out once, it can happen again. I don't care how long, however, it can happen again. I promise you. And then yeah, you know, so he came out and then title eliminator, 100% it was a title eliminator. He got finished by Charles Oliveira in the first round after taking years to put together. I mean, he beat Thiago Moises in 2018 and he lost to Charles. That was a 5-year run Beneil went on to try to win the belt. And, you know, he came up short, unfortunately, but he's coming out in this main event in UFC Austin. Obviously, the UFC thinks very highly of him. He's in a main event. This could have been a feature bout on a pay-per-view. This could have been a co-main. It's like it's the main selling point of this card. They're on the poster. So it's the main event, you know, it's a big fight, and he's fighting Arman Tsarukyan, you know, one of the biggest prospects in the UFC right now. He's been one of the biggest prospects for the last couple years now, ever since he touched down at 22 years old, to be quite honest, where he fought Islam Makhachev. But yeah, man, that's Beneil's skill set. He's a great grappler. He has good submissions on top, good submissions off his back. Good wrestling too, very physically strong, won't get out muscled like that. It's just his chin, it's his durability. I really feel like that's the main thing that's always held Beneil back, and he can take a punch, you know, but it's just if it's like a devastating combination or anything, like he can be hurt and Beneil can be put out, you know. So still a good fighter though, you know, great good striking, great grappling, like I said. It's just kind of a dusty chin, and that's due to a lot of fights as well. And he's 34 years old in the lightweight division. That's really hard to, like, you know, say at your A game at that age at lightweight, you know. But yeah, man, I've said it all. And he's trying to bounce back in this main event on December 2nd. And yeah, man, you can go ahead and have Arman Tsarukyan, man. Blue corner.
Arman's 20-3, you know, 1 loss by knockout, 2 by decision. Those 2 decision losses came to 2 of the greatest or 2 of the best, you know, wrestlers in the division, Gamrot and Islam. He's a great fighter, you know. Everyone that they've thrown at him, he's pretty much beaten besides those 3 losses, you know. Favola, it's a great one there, missed weight. But I think with this fight, he's just the hype train's there, man. And you know, Dariush last fight, he just couldn't do what he wanted to do against Charles, and that scared me a little bit with this fight. I wanted to take Dariush, but Armin just, I think this one, it's a tough one. I like Armin for this fight, honestly.
Yeah, man. Like, we're agreeing on the main event. I'm taking Armin Tsarukyan in this fight. You know, very, very good wrestler, very, very fast, man, extremely fast with striking, with aggressive, you know, with very aggressive grappler, very physically strong. You can see him on the scale right there. He's a 5'7" lightweight, so that lets you know where all that muscle, like compact, like, you know, muscle fiber. Like, you know, he's, you know, to make up for like that smaller stature. He's very physically strong, has a good chin, very, very, very well versed, man. Good on the feet, good on the ground. Solid chin, weathers adversity. He has a lot of heart. And I do think at one point he will be a champion. I think he's too young, too good, too advanced for his age to not be champion one day. And there's not gonna be like there's not gonna be a lot of guys that could stop him from getting the belt. Of course, you know, Islam still has it right now, and I would love to see a Makhachev versus Tsarukyan too. When it was crazy, because we know I guess we never thought we would get that, you know, but it happened. You know, it might happen. You know, we got to see. He still has to beat Charles Gaethje. You know, he still has some chapters ahead of him. And in that meantime, Armin still has to make his name, you know. But he's number 8, fighting number 4, so we know what they're trying to do. We already know inside the UFC, you got to be the top 5 ranked fighter to get a title shot. So as long as he's the number 4 fighter on a good win streak, he can fight for the belt literally at any moment. So yeah, man, this is a massive fight for Armin Tsarukyan. This could possibly be his night, his crowning moment. Of course, Beneil's trying not to let that happen. He could very, very, very much well win this fight. Still very dangerous, still very powerful, still a good grappler, still a lot of heart. And Beneil rises most when he's doubted, when he's like going through a lot of adversity, when people think he's not gonna win. That's when he'll win the most. Like even with the Gamrot fight, Gamrot was like a minus 280 something in that fight, and Beneil made it look easy. So this is a really, really great card. I would give this card about as fans, you know, so I give it, you know, it's a good card, you know, especially with the top 5, the main card, like if it was damn near like a pay-per-view. I would probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10. For a fight night, especially.
For a fight night, yeah, it's up there.
For I'm saying for a fight night, especially, it definitely has you know, has fans, and it has fans on it and all that shit. I always love having the fans in the crowd. It really adds, you know, makes it feel like a real sporting event. You know, I really love that. And yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Armin Tsarukyan via decision. I don't think he's gonna finish Beneil. Beneil is a really good grappler. Really good in the scrambles. On the feet, I don't think Armin's gonna, like, you know, hurt him enough to knock him out, but I think he'll just be faster. Good leg kicks, good body punches. I really try to work his magic. Good control time. Win some scrambles. This could actually be a really crazy fight, to be quite honest. The more I think about it, Armin can have that big minus all he wants. When they get to grappling and get to scrambling, I think Beneil is going to be really, really strong in those scrambles with that crowd going. Once they like proving people wrong, and on the feet, we know Beneil has a lot of power. He's really dangerous. He's really good with the spinning back fist, spinning elbows. I think this might be a crazy fight that people are going to underestimate, especially when they start to wrestle, when they start to grapple. You know, because it's going to be hard for Armin to hold down that bigger man like that. So he's going to be forced to work harder, and that's going to make for a crazier fight, round by round. And yeah, this is going to be a great fight. I agree. But yeah, y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us for the first episode of the MMAHOLICS podcast today. Catch us for our next episode. We'll always tweet out the day of or the day before we're about to go live for our next episode. Next episode will probably be either a preview of the next podcast or the preview of the next card, or just like, a look ahead to like a future pay-per-view, like, talking about 296 or something like that for a few minutes or something. So yeah, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to have all our, the Twitters, all the X's in the description, of course. Follow us on there. We're really active. And again, guys, we always respect you guys. So we just ask that y'all just please respect us. And thank you guys so much for joining us, those that could, those that watched. And thank y'all so much, man. And God bless you guys. Thank y'all so much.